The war between the Allied world forces and the Demon Lord's army lasted for 7 days. The bodies of soldiers from both armies carpeted the ground, and their blood colored everything around them in scarlet. In the end, each side had a trump card. The hero squad and the Demon Lord were sent to the battlefield. A bird attacked the girl, causing her to scream, and the guy standing next to her began to worry about the princess. To which the girl told him not to worry about her, because the hero Daiki must defeat the Demon Lord. The hero stands face to face with his enemy, and so their fight began, unfortunately for his enemy. In this world he gains strength. The guy accelerates and with all his might wants to hit his opponent, but he blocks his blow. The princess is very worried about the hero and tells him that his fight is not over yet. And he in turn deftly dodges the enemy's blows and jumping a little higher, masterfully uses his sword and defeats the Demon Lord. But the ruler himself cannot believe that he lost to some person. Both girls are absolutely delighted with the guy's feat, saying that he finally did it. Daiki can't believe that the Demon Lord has been defeated and he can finally return home to the world he longs for, or maybe not quite. Some time ago, Daiki is sitting on the pavement, his face covered in cuts and bruises, most likely the work of the other guys. He asks Murashima to stop and let him go. He repeats these words countless times. The boys tell him to stop apologizing, asking if he did anything. Daiki replies that he did nothing. Murashima confirms that he did nothing and has nothing to apologize for. That's why Daiki asks him to stop. But he replies that he can't. And just looking at people like Daiki makes all his good mood disappear. The guys are talking to each other, saying how they plan to laugh at the main character. He can't stand it anymore, gets up from the floor and runs away in an unknown direction. Daiki hid in the toilet, but the hooligans quickly found him. They knock on his door and ask if he really intends to leave them. And Daiki, sitting on the floor in the toilet, does not understand why he has to endure such suffering every day. He asks the gods to save him. No one else is knocking on his door and it suddenly gets dark. He doesn't understand what's going on. Some voice starts talking to him, asking if Daiki wants to go to another world. After some time, a loud scream is heard from the booth. The hooligans are still standing behind the door and are wondering if he is seriously scaring them like that. Murashima decides to look into the booth and doesn't notice anyone there. He doesn't understand where he could have gone. At that time, the world where Daiki is a hero, he feels like he remembered something not so pleasant. However, he suddenly remembers his mother's curry and he wouldn't mind going home if he could taste it. The girl in the hat turns to the hero and asks how long he plans to lie there, and asks him to answer the people. Daiki gets up from the ground and says under his breath that he just defeated the Lord of the Earth, and they already treat him like this. He raises his sword up, showing his power. People start to rejoice and cheer. After some time, the princess asks if he really plans to return home, because the world still needs him. The guy asks if the restoration of this world should not be left to its inhabitants. But the girl says that even though this is true, all people change. And when he first arrived, he was also hopeless. He asks her to stop talking about the past. The girl in the hat sits on a rock and says that it is such a loss. Otherwise, he could have great wealth and fame, and then asks if he really wants to go back to his world. To which the hero answers that he really wants to go back and eat homemade curry cooked by his mother. They don't understand if this is really the reason why he wants to go home. But the food in this world was not to his taste. The girl in the hat nudges the other, knowing that she wants to say something to the hero, but has not yet decided. And now she is standing next to him and telling him words of farewell. And he was her first love. And Daiki does not share her feelings and says that they will see each other again. He moves away from the girls and is about to teleport to his home when he realizes that he is already home, because it seemed to him that everything would be much more intense. And then he realizes that he has returned to the very day when they laughed at him. He looks at himself in the mirror and realizes that his hero armor will be quite problematic at school. If his armor was still intact, then the status window should be there too. His guess was right, and it seems like his divine voice is still in use. The status window shows the date, and his current location is the men's restroom on the second floor of Kasukiyama High School. He wonders what happened to his skills. He uses the recognition skill to the maximum and points his hand at the mirror. He is given information that it is a normal product, costing about 2,800 yen. He realizes that his skill is working. Daiki uses his second skill and searches for something in the box. It was his uniform, but he didn't think he would ever need it, and his idea of keeping it wasn't such a bad one. After some time, he comes to his house dressed in his old school uniform. His mother greets him as he enters the house. He looks at his mother and sees this unforgettable smile, and despite her appearance, she is amazing. The hero tells her that he has returned. He has been longing for this feeling very much. Mom does not understand what is wrong and why he is looking at her for so long. He asks his mother what they are having for dinner today because he realized he was hungry after he calmed down. In response, his mother only said that dinner is ready. She carries a pot in her hands and says that her signature curry is ready and apologizes for the wait. The boy can't believe what's happening. He's so happy to taste his mother's curry again and asks for more. Sometime later, it's already late at night outside. His mother is fast asleep in her room, and the hero goes outside to check what part of his powers he can use in this world. Daiki starts checking everything, and the status window shows him that he used the following skills: night vision, hand-to-hand combat, detection, concentration. He realizes that his strength is comparable to what he had in that world. He looks around because he wants to test another skill of his, body enhancement. And again, he realizes that the level has remained the same. He has tested his physical strength. Now it is the turn of the magical ones. He tests the flight and makes 2 swings and remembers that he needs to be more careful, because in this world not only birds and monsters fly but also airplanes. And now he wants to use another skill of his called Thor's Hammer. But having miscalculated the force, he creates an explosion. Daiki realizes that this skill is too dangerous to use in everyday life. If he does not hide his power, he may become a demon lord himself. The next day, morning, a voice is heard from the switched-on TV saying that this is breaking news, and at dawn in the Pacific Ocean there was a small earthquake. The government said that most likely a small country is testing a small nuclear weapon. Hearing this news, the hero choked on water. His mother is worried about him and asks if he is really okay. But Daiki just thinks about his heroic nature being revealed. On the way to school, he thinks that these abilities are a natural phenomenon, but here everything is different, and if he accidentally flies into the sky, it will not be fun. One of the hooligans who came out from around the corner grabs him by the scruff of the neck and asks what kind of force he used yesterday. But the hero had already completely forgotten about them, and they began to seem to him like small fry. The hooligans began to mock Daiki again, but for him these blows were nothing. He doesn't understand how much longer they're going to do this, so he stands up and says that he is very sorry and will return their money. After these words, the guys finally leave him alone. Sometime later, all the hooligans are in the principal's office. He asks the boys to apologize to the main character, as he recorded their entire conversation on his phone. They ask him for forgiveness. Daiki takes pity on them and says that he originally planned to go to the authorities and get them expelled. He is very tired of these empty dialogues in the office, so he leaves, accepting the apology. Now he understands that even without magic, there are many things that he can use. It is true that he wanted to be reborn because of one thing: he was tired of being laughed at as a weakling. Sometime later, he is sitting in a car with a bandage over his mouth along with the bullies. Their goal is quite clear: they want to take revenge on him. So they brought him to the forest. They threaten to stab him, but he is not afraid of this, and in the past world, he survived worse blows. He endures all the blows, but all their antics begin to irritate him. So he plans to not hold back any longer and hits the hand of one of the boys. At first he found it funny, but then he realized that his hand was twisted the other way. The main character deals with each of the guys. The hooligan, barely standing on his feet, asks where he disappeared to from the toilet, and Daiki answers him that he went to another world. But the guys just can't believe it, so they rush into a fight again, but Daiki masterfully deals with them. But he went too far with one, and he used too much force, so he had to catch him, but he understands that his classmate has all his bones broken. And he uses healing magic, although he is not sure of his level of mastery of it. After some time, the hooligans wake up on the ground and do not understand what happened to them, but an idea comes to their mind to stop laughing at Daiki. And all this thanks to the skill of memory management. He changed their attitude towards him. It seems to him that he has sorted out all his problems. He is going to regain his youth and a wonderful life. However, an unknown girl senses the hero's aura and does not understand who he is. Once he starts a new life, he doesn't know what to do and comes to the conclusion that he can do anything based on his past. He was lost in his thoughts, but was distracted by a girl who had just entered the classroom, introducing herself as Lela Sakaguchi. From the very beginning, she tells everyone that they should treat her like a princess, and that the only thing they have in common is age and school. All the kids are sitting in shock. The teacher tells her that the girl graduated from an American high school at the age of 10. She is 1/3 Russian, French, and Finnish. Daiki gets caught and realizes that she is very powerful. This girl comes up to him and says that she must have imagined that she felt a mysterious aura from him, because he looks rather ordinary. She turns away from him and tells the teacher that she wants to sit at the farthest seat by the window. Daiki again reasons that she is quite a strong character, but does not match his tastes. And the one who is to his taste is the manager of the baseball club. as well as the chairman of the club committee Murayama Toka, and of course, her forms are so big that they are impossible not to notice. Sometime later, he walks with Murayama down the school hallway and talks about joining the baseball club. The girl says that it will be quite problematic because she has already made a list of participants, but he reassures her, saying that thanks to him, the team will win all the matches. And now he's on the baseball field with a bat in his hand. The guy wants to show everyone what he's capable of. Well, the time has come and they throw him a ball. He doesn't understand what's happening because the ball has slowed down and it looked like it was frozen in the air. And then his skill activated, Sword Art level 10. He knocks it back at the speed of light. The boys see a ball in front of them, torn into two parts, and do not understand how this could have happened. The girl tries to calm them down and says that it is a defect. On the way home, he thinks that it would be quite problematic if the skills worked on their own. He stops and notices two girls actively arguing about something. He immediately recognized one girl. It was Lela Sakaguchi. But in order to see the second one, his long-range vision skill activated, and he realized that the second girl was Abino Kaguya. She is a professional Miko and is much higher than Daiki in abilities. In short, she is simply magnificent. Lela shows something to another girl, and offended, she goes in another direction. Kaguya does not react to this in any way. She was about to move on when Daiki caught her attention. She grabbed his face and tried to see something. The guy didn't understand what was happening, but they were too close to each other. After torturing the guy for a short time, she finally let him go and said that she must have imagined it. But he doesn't want to let the girl of his dreams go just like that and offers to become friends with her, to which he receives a harsh refusal. This upsets him greatly, and he uses the skill resistance of the mind, and this makes him feel better. The girl seemed to sense something, turned sharply to the guy and asked if he and Lela were friends. The guy said no. Everything became clear to the girl, and in response she hands him a piece of paper with an email and leaves, saying that she is waiting for his letter. Daiki was overjoyed. After some time, he is already at home and he can't believe how lucky he was to meet Abino. But he is not so stupid as to hope for a romantic relationship with her. However, he hopes that he can at least become friends with her. And even if he fails to communicate with her, he dreams that Abino will introduce him to her Miku friends. His dream is a group date with girls who have big shapes. If this wish comes true, then he will not have wasted his youth. He notices that the girl gave him an unusual email address. This is a magic circle that changes life. And yet he sent his message, trying to write everything without incident. The answer to his letter comes literally in 5 seconds. He did not expect it. The guy quickly opens the message and his skill, resistance to the deadly curse, works. But he doesn't pay attention to this and reads a letter from the girl, in which she asks if there is anyone among his relatives connected with the Imperial Guard or the agency. Daiki doesn't understand why this question was asked, but thinks that she is simply the daughter of rich parents. He replies to her letter, stating that his parents are ordinary people. As soon as he sent the message, he received a reply and the same skill was activated again. In a reply letter, the girl says that she is not going to answer his questions about hobbies and asks if he could be a descendant of great people. He doesn't understand why she is so cold to him, because he just wanted to be friends with her. Meanwhile, at Abino's house, according to her cover, she is an ordinary middle school girl, but in reality, she is an exorcist. Her family has been exterminating Chimamoryu, the so-called evil spirits of mountains and rivers that live in the darkness, for many years. Even after so many generations, she still has remarkable powers. And she can tell at a glance who also has them. But when she looked at that guy, she realized that he had a strange aura. However, there was no hint of magical power in this guy's eyes or body. She was sure that he was pursuing some goal, wanting to get closer to her. That's why she uses her Shikigami skill. But he suddenly disappears after receiving a response to her message. She realizes that she underestimated him and that there is something hidden behind his inept face. Daiki destroyed her Shikigami in 1 second, so she begins to treat him like a fearsome superhero. But her next move will decide everything, and she will use a combat Shikigami. But an unknown force extinguishes all the candles and throws her back from the phone. It finally dawns on her that he is a cut above her in skills, but she doesn't want to give up just like that. But before she can do anything, she falls to the floor after reading Daiki's message that he just wants to be friends. But the girl can't believe it and she feels vulnerable, as if she was in checkmate. An hour later, in the protagonist's room, the girl does not answer him and he becomes despondent because his dream will probably remain just a dream. The next morning, the guy is sad because he thinks that Abino hates him now and all his dreams are not destined to come true. He wanted to feed the cat, but it started to run away from him. Daiki turned around and saw Abino behind him. She greets him but doesn't know what to say next. She finally decides to tell him that last night was a mistake and that he's a cool guy. He thinks he earned this title just by feeding the cat, but that's not true at all. Abino says she's very pathetic. She has no choice but to give in as she has shown open hostility towards him. Because of this, she asks his opinion on the matter. But the guy only says that he thought that he and Abino were now friends. She doesn't believe that such a strong person wants to be friends with her without any reason. She wants to make sure of this and looks into his eyes. The guy thinks she wants to kiss him. With her skill, she looks into his soul and realizes that he just wants to spend time with her. The girl can't believe that he just wants to be friends without any intentions. She examines his body with her skill, and she thinks that most likely it happened by mistake, but she doesn't believe that he just wants to be friends with her. She asks if the hero is a bit stupid, to which he answers that he is more likely to be yes than no. And each of them has different thoughts. The girl thinks that he is a hero who does everything alone, and the guy thinks that he is really stupid. She had already forgotten what true friendship was because of her situation, since everyone else saw her only as a rival or a role model. And yet, the girl accepts his offer to start a friendship. But she sets a condition that since they are friends, they will be equal. He agrees with her without hesitation and asks if she is really sure of her decision. The girl thinks that he could teach her a lot. She invites him to become pen pals so they can get to know each other better and see if they are right for each other. She wants to tell him a secret since they have become friends. From now on, she will write like normal Abino, but if he ruins her mood, then their friendship is over. The guy says that he understands everything, and the girl is very glad to meet him, because she hasn't felt such a warm feeling for a long time. After some time, the guy takes out his phone and sees 252 unread messages and 12 notifications, all from Abino. He doesn't understand why she writes to him so often without any particular reason. Even if it's to make his dream come true, it's too much. He is distracted from his thoughts by Lella's voice mocking another classmate. But apparently the guy being laughed at enjoys it, so Daiki doesn't interfere. Meanwhile, in Abino's class, she enjoys talking to Daiki and is happy with every message he sends. Her classmates notice the girl's strange behavior. Sometime later, Daiki is already home, but he is tired of this countless number of messages. He can't understand how she is not tired yet. But suddenly a girl calls him and says that he has passed the test for a pen pal. She also tells him that it will not be difficult for him to achieve the title of a real friend, because it's better than being nobody. The guy agrees with her and the girl starts her meaningless dialogue. The guy interrupts her and asks what secret she wanted to tell him. She tells him not to be surprised. But in fact, she has no friends. At first, he was happy about this news. But then he got upset because it meant that she didn't have any Miku friends. The girl tells him that she is very happy to have a pen pal. He asks if it will be okay if he does not want to continue communicating with her anymore. But the girl says no, and now the only way he can stop communicating with her is if he dies. This news leaves the guy in a stupor. The next morning, he is glad that he managed to convince her to keep the number of messages to a minimum and call once a day. He notices Lela and how she has become a full-fledged class ruler in just a couple of days. The girl is talking about something on the phone, but from such a distance nothing can be heard, so the hero's skill, All Hearing Ears, is activated automatically. She says the mission was a success, but she doesn't think the local anti-demon organization wants to cooperate with her. The hero does not understand what she is talking about. From her conversation, he concludes that she is one of those with the 8th grader syndrome. She continues her conversation and says that, surprisingly, the ghosts are more active than usual. And at this time, the main character is killed by this tension and he cannot listen to it anymore. She is interrupted by a voice saying that he was curious about who it was, but she didn't expect to see Lela here. She can say the same about her interlocutor, Abino. The guy didn't expect to see her here. Abino continues the dialogue, saying that if the Dominions start a mess in her garden, she won't let them get away with it. Meanwhile, the guy begins to feel pain from the growing tension. Lela asks if this means she wants to compete with her. But the girl says no, and she already has someone to spend her free time with. She doesn't believe that she could have a friend. Abino assumes that in a situation like this, there is someone else to worry about and she will pray that tomorrow morning will come. The guy understands that he needs to leave this place as soon as possible before it's too late. And the girl only says that a strong wind has risen, bringing miasma of house. Sometime later, evening after school, Mom scolds the boy saying that it is bad to use the phone before eating, but he says that it is a message from a friend. Mom is so happy for her son and at the same time cannot believe that he has a friend. He thanks his mother for dinner and is glad that the number of messages has decreased compared to the first day. He thinks about the past world and remembers that he was supposed to call Abino first today. He dials her in horror. The girl picks up the phone and tells the guy that he is 2 minutes late. Daiki understands this perfectly well and suggests that they stop all this because he thinks that he is causing her inconvenience. But in fact, these conversations are causing inconvenience to him. The girl replies that she doesn't have much time to talk to him either. So the guy decides to hit her with magic. First, he throws out a trick, asking if she really talked to Lela today. The guy notices the girl's strange behavior during that conversation, and Abino confirms his point of view, saying that she knows Lela's secret. He wonders what this secret is. The girl says that Lela has no friends, and she is not her friend at all, but rather an acquaintance who brings an itch. Abino wants to continue the conversation, but the guy interrupts her, saying that it is already night outside. They wish each other good night. Meanwhile, the girl squeezes her wounded hand and dreams that she could live an ordinary life. The next morning, Lela's classmates see the bandage on her eye and arm and wonder where it came from. The girl says it doesn't matter and sends them to get food for her. At the same time, she whispers to herself that it's a shame to lose to such an easy monster like the earth spider. Daiki heard all this thanks to his skill. He thinks that this is all quite strange, and earlier she said something about hunting. Lela's classmates only idolize her, but the hero doesn't see any point in this. He went out of the office into the street. He calls the cat to feed her. Meanwhile, Abino is surprised that the girl has recovered from her injury so quickly. And she remembers that the earth spider is a high-ranking ghost, and to catch it she needs to ask the clan for help. She notices Daiki's unusual aura and realizes that he is in this park. The girl takes quick action and wants to try to delay the opponent so that the guy can escape. Meanwhile, the hero saves a kitten from a web, but he doesn't understand where it comes from. And now he finally notices the culprit of all this. It finally dawns on him that this is not an ordinary spider, but a ground spider. And now he understands that the girls did not have any 8th grader complex and they were serious. Abino understands the terrifying power of the earth spider and that neither her older sister, nor her niece, nor Lela can cope with it. Therefore, she wanted to postpone the meeting with this monster, but it did not work. The great familiar, the Nine Tails, is an evil god that the Abino family kept sealed away for many years. Their family offers the Miko as a sacrifice to keep them in society. The true form of the Abino family is that of tools used to gain favor. Miku's exam is the extermination of low-level ghosts. In other words, it's an exam to be a victim. And the most likely candidate is Abino. Although she is not inferior to anyone in terms of skills, she lacks experience. But the ones who cause her the most problems are the other candidates, as well as Lela. The killer of the Holy Church called Dominion. For them, fighting is like breathing. If their families had united, they would have had a chance to deal with him. However, there were many casualties in the war to seal the past god. The choice is obvious. They'd rather lose one Miku than high-level exorcists. She already wanted to give up and stop hunting in favor of her youth. And this is the first time she runs to help her friend. She thinks that she is already late, but the girl arrived just in time. Even though she is scared, she keeps moving. And it doesn't seem like such a bad decision to sacrifice herself for her friend. After all, her life will end before it even begins. But then suddenly, Daiki hits the spider right in the head, causing it to fall. And the girl cannot believe what she just saw before her eyes. Sometime later, they are both sitting in a cafe. The guy asks if she is okay. Daiki had to tell her about the alternate world and his skills, but the girl still doesn't believe him, making him look like a complete fool. Although magic is not so surprising to her, the hero's case shocked her. She tells him that there is no organization that would not interest him, and he is already saying goodbye to his quiet life. The girl tells him more about her family and what they do, but she cannot tell him about the sacrifices. It is too heavy a burden for him. And yet the guy wonders if that monster is really that strong, because he was able to defeat it with one blow. If they were in another world, this spider would be stronger than low-level beasts. Then the hero asks to check the girl's status. She gives her consent. She is at level 1, although her stats are simply incredible. Moreover, her skills are also quite weak. He sums up what was said earlier and says that she is the weakest in the family, but the girl has nothing to say in response because that is how it is. The girl says that she is not going to stop there and understands what she needs to strive for. The guy gives Lela as an example, but the girl loses her temper and says that she is just pretending and there is nothing special about her. He asks her to calm down and says that fighting for the inheritance is a very bad idea. In another world, absorbing the souls of monsters makes you stronger. But after he defeats that monster, the experience points don't change at all and there is no level up in this world. He comes up with an idea to level up Abino in another way. The girl follows the guy and asks what they are going to do in such a place. But he just asks her to silently follow him, and if everything works out, then her level will instantly increase. She misunderstands him and thinks that he wants her to undress. The girl does so, but the guy stops her and does not understand what she is doing. Abino, in turn, says that she misunderstood him, and besides, he secretly wanted to see her body. After hearing this, he activates the skill optical camouflage. The girl is surprised by his masterful use of magic. He lifts the box with magic and says that she can store anything here. Daiki is actively looking for something in this box. And from there, the monster's head begins to appear, and then the monster itself. The guy throws it aside. The girl thinks it's a ghost pig, but the guy tells her it's a regular orc. In any case, Daiki asks to defeat it. He tells her that orcs have strong defense and attack, but lack speed and intelligence, and their weak point is the back of the head. She asks him to be quiet because the girl is not going to rely on him because they are equal. She uses the spell papers and aims them directly at the orc, and notices that his movements are very slow. Daiki is glad that the girl slowed down the enemy first. She notices that the orc is focused on what is happening below, and does not notice his burning head. He didn't expect the girl to use her skills so skillfully and appropriately. Then the hero believes that he shouldn't measure someone's strength only with numbers. Abino utters a few insults towards the orc and delivers a decisive blow, from which he falls to the ground. The girl did everything right, and now he waits for her level to increase thanks to the killing of the monster. Abino can't believe that her level has increased, and she thinks it's a hallucination. She becomes aware of her own status. The hero thinks that it is because she killed a monster from another world. She wants to know what the hero's status looks like, but he avoids the topic. Then the girl's attention was drawn to the incorrect measurements of her body. But Daiki quickly calmed her down. Asking if she felt any changes in her body, the girl notes that her abilities have definitely improved. The guy asks her to squeeze a stone in her hands, and it wasn't a big problem for her. And the pieces of stone flew in different directions. And the girl declares that she has long ceased to be human. Friends are talking on the phone. Daiki teaches her friend how to use her status. He tells her what skill points are, the points she gained when she leveled up. She quickly understands because it's similar to the interface in the game. She is surprised by some titles, and the guy explains to her that the status window visualizes the unique features of a person. Then the girl becomes interested in what skill she should develop. The guy advises her to concentrate on one thing to achieve a good level of mastery. She asks him for help with the choice, because it will not be possible to select the skill again since this is not a game. The guy understands that this was instigation on the part of the girl, and then his skill enemy detection is activated. The girl is surprised by this because her abilities were not like this before. She figured everything out and quickly says goodbye to him. And the guy is angry at this time because the girl just hung up without even thanking him. The next morning, as he walks to school, he thinks that it's not so bad that Abino hung up on him since he didn't have to talk to her all night. And since her level has increased, he can do whatever he wants. But in front of him, he sees Lela, another weirdo, even though Abino told him about her briefly. That their organization, Dominion, has a pretty bad reputation because they sow chaos everywhere. Because he stared at her for so long, the girl thinks he wants to become her servant. But the guy has no idea what she's talking about. He also can't understand how the other boys follow her requests without question. Abino mentioned that when ghosts disrupt the normal order of things, people with weak minds break down, and people who were originally evil become even more evil. This morning, a murderer escaped from prison and the main character must try to avoid trouble. At the same time, a policeman stops a man and asks him to get into the car if he is the owner. But the man, in response to this, takes out a gun and shoots him. After some time, Lela heard a shot and woke up. There's some kind of commotion going on at school. This scary guy with a gun comes into the classroom and starts threatening them, telling them to calm down. And if anyone tries to escape, they'll be sent straight to the next world. The hero understands that this is a typical bandit. His fighting abilities are higher than those of a newbie, but he has a gun. Unlike him, he is dangerous for ordinary students. Daiki would have dealt with him long ago, but he would like to avoid unnecessary attention. An idea comes to his mind because he can set one dangerous person on another. He hopes that Lela will lose her temper and then his skill activates, thanks to which he can hear her thoughts. The girl thinks to herself that she does not want to attack yet because she is sure that the police will soon intervene. He understands that she is simply useless, and it would be better if she intervened. Then the man asks all the girls to line up, and his motives are quite simple. He wants to have fun with them. This horrifies all the students, and Daiki thinks that the bandit is quite predictable. The man calls girls with big curves diamonds, and Lelu is a junior high school student, which doesn't make her happy. Daiki wants to intervene himself, but he's afraid to make things worse. Then the bandit asks all the girls to undress and threatens that he will shoot the guys if the girls refuse. Then one of the girls agrees to his conditions and begins to undress. The rest follow her example. Only Lela stands aside, so the bandit approaches her and begins to threaten her. But the girl does not care at all about his words. He drives the girl crazy by saying that there is nothing to see there. This touches Flash where it hurts and she takes off all her clothes. He is not attracted to Lela and calls her a little child. Then he approaches a plus-size girl and says he wants to have fun with her. He hurries her and asks her to undress, but the girl refuses. The man can't take refusal and hits her. Daiki saves her from falling, and Lela is ready to attack him. The guy calms the girl down and says that he should have stopped him earlier. He asks if the girl can get up. She does so quite calmly and is surprised that the pain has gone away. But now Daiki himself decides to stand up for his class, but no one believes in him. Then the guy decides to simply immobilize him. The bandit threatens him with a gun, but he replies that he doesn't notice such trifles. The man goes crazy and asks his name because he remembers the names of all the dead before going to bed. He tells him his name and asks the bandit to remember it well. Then the bandit asks him to say goodbye to life and he pulls the trigger. He calculated his strength and decided that it would be better to dodge this bullet so that others would not have questions if he survived. After he dodges the bullet, Daiki uses illusion magic and tries to make him experience hell with it. A terrifying monster appears in front of the bandit and he is distracted by it. And the hero takes advantage of this and hits him right in the face, which makes the bandit fall to the floor. He locked him in an endless loop of suffering, and he will enjoy this nightmare for the rest of his life. His classmates are shocked by the main character's skills, and the guy only replies that he did Aikido as a child. And now it becomes clear to everyone why he behaved so confidently. Lela runs up to him with delight in her eyes, and tells him that he is amazing and she has long dreamed of meeting a master who practices Aikido. Lela suggests that everyone celebrate saving their lives. The guy in turn is glad that they did not guess who he really is. The guys throw him up in joy. After some time, the police were already there and detained the criminal. He is worried that this will continue to happen due to the influence of ghosts. Before he can leave the school gates, Lela is waiting for him. She was waiting for him and wants him to become her teacher. The girl says that her eyes cannot be deceived, and it is clearly not the first time he has encountered this. The guy does not understand why his abilities were first noticed by Abino and now by Lela. The girl understands that he deliberately hid his skills, saying that he was studying using video lessons because he was embarrassed. Now it becomes clear to him that she is just a girl with strange knowledge. She asks him to give her phone number and email address so that they can communicate. The girl says that she is not particularly weak, and if you combine her abilities with his Aikido abilities, you get incredible strength. The guy does not understand why she decides for others what to do. But she doesn't care because she decided that he will become her teacher and he needs to prepare, because now she will follow him. Daiki thinks to himself that a selfish Lalitsundir character is nothing in fiction, but in real life, it's a big problem. Abino prepares to shoot his bow as the day of rebirth approaches, as does the day of choosing a victim. She, her older sister, and 5 of her cousins are candidates for the victims. The rules are simple. The girl who destroys the fewest ghosts will be eaten alive by the Ninetales. And at the moment, the girl is in last place. Considering how far behind she is, the choice of the victim for the next selection is obvious. She is distracted from her training by a girl dressed in an evening dress and a fur coat. She asks if Abino is really still wasting his energy in vain. The girl in the dress is called Yui. Abino tells her that she doesn't think it's pointless to make final preparations before the hunt. But Yui only laughs at these words. By the Ninetales anyway, and advises her to enjoy the rest of her life while she can, but the girl doesn't want to give up. However, Yui brings her down to earth, saying that there is a huge gap between them, as much as 30 heads. She wonders what the girl hopes for with such a level. She takes out a spell with a piece of paper and throws it at the target. Thus breaking it, Yui tells her that even though the girl has talent, there is a gap between them that she cannot overcome, and this gap is experience. Then she asks a provocative question, asking if she is still the same. She hurries to please her, saying that before the 9-tailed fox eats her, she will be defiled by demons. Yui is really glad that it won't happen to her, but Abino says that she doesn't have time to talk. Yui silently watches the girl's training and thinks that she could become a worthy practitioner in a few years. With the skills she gained, she was able to upgrade her talisman technique. Yui stands in complete shock watching her sister's powerful strength, and she can't believe that her powers could improve so quickly. The girl encourages her, saying that she has plenty of experience and she can't even imagine how much. Meanwhile, Lela, late at night, she deals with monsters, and it seems strange to her that despite their presence, there are very few ghosts. She came here to lower her spear and destroy the ghosts of her lord's enemies. While the Abino family deals with one part of the ghosts, she will need to deal with another, but she feels like she will be left behind. Conversation with the gentleman. He suggested that she go to Japan. The girl does not understand why she should go to the ends of the earth, but he explains to her that this is a direct order from the Vatican. He tells her to think of this trip as a chance to show off her strength in all its glory, present. Because of the slow pace of work, she may lose all her ranks. It finally dawns on Lela that someone is taking her job and raising their level. At the same time, Abino activates the skill, enemy detection, with which she is able to sense any spiritual power within a radius of 300 meters. Since her ability was outstanding, she was always pushed aside and her prey was taken. In other words, she was used as a hound. She understands that someone will take the last place in any case, and to avoid her being in that place, she needs to catch her prey. She notices a young demon standing next to the girl. He wants to attack her, but Abino does not let him do it. Two more goblins jump out from the ambush. Miku tells them not to expect mercy. A scream is heard from the bushes. The girl walking home turns around and runs away from there. The girl with blonde hair dressed in a kimono says that she was tricked again. The second girl is more interested in where Abino got such strength from. Sometime later, Daiki's house. The boy lies down on his bed and says that he didn't expect that something like this could happen at school. But he can breathe a sigh of relief because his school life has hardly changed. Except that he has one more obstacle in the form of Lela. He wants to enjoy his ordinary life, not be a hero who saved the class from a terrorist. Someone calls him on the phone. He picks up the phone, but all he hears in response is rapid breathing. He realized that it was Abino and asked if she was okay because her breathing was hoarse. The girl asked him to guess what she was wearing. Daiki guessed that she was wearing pajamas, but this was an incorrect guess. And she is now in only her underwear. It is black and see-through. He wonders what kind of reaction she expects to hear from him. She tells him that she has been aroused all day in an interesting way. He says he understands it. She tells him that she has destroyed hundreds of ghosts while hunting today, and now she is in first place by a large margin. The guy is confused but says that he is glad to hear it. She wants to laugh, remembering the silly expressions on her cousins' faces. She asks if pen pals are incredible. She continues by saying that as pen pals they can talk about underwear without any problem. But the guy claims that they don't usually talk about such things. She apologizes to him and realizes that pen pals really don't do that. The girl continues the underwear topic, saying that in high school, everyone usually wears white rather than black. The guy says that the problem isn't the color. Then she asks about light pink. Daiki asks them to stop talking about underwear. He doesn't understand what's going on with her and what she's saying. Abino, in turn, says that now she can move on to the main topic of conversation, and that's how the underwear is see-through. He asks her to stop these conversations again, but the girl tells him that these are just jokes. And her body is so hot, buzzing and pulsating. So today she plans to be a bad girl. The hero doesn't quite understand what she's talking about. She asks him to get ready, and asks what panties she should wear today. He tells her that this is not the behavior of a bad girl, but of a completely sick, crazy pervert. She doesn't understand why he reacts like that, because she was told that after the attack by the bandit, something awakened in him when he saw his classmates in their underwear. So she thought that he might have a heart obsession. He doesn't understand who she could have heard this from. The girl replies that it's from Lela, then everything becomes clear to the guy. The girl unfastens the straps of her bra and says that since he's not interested, she doesn't need this underwear. She starts telling him about all the things she did with her underwear, because she promised him that she would be a bad girl today. Now she is completely naked and asks him what excited girls do on the phone. Isn't it obvious that they do indecent things? She answers her own question. Get flustered by something like that. Daiki asks if he accidentally heard the girl talking about shopping, but in response he only gets strange sounds. He doesn't understand why she's quiet and what she's doing. The guy asks what she's doing. She tells him that first he needs to gently pinch his cheek. If he pulls it and then lets go, it will make this sound. These words confuse him. He wonders if she is making fun of him on purpose just because he is special. The girl confesses to him that she is also special. Strange words slip out of the conversation from Abino, and Daiki, in turn, does not understand where she gets them from. The girl replies that it's from adult games. She congratulates him on the fact that from that day on they become sex buddies. He asks her not to tell anyone else about it. The next day at school, Lela laughs at the hero and how friendly he is with the Miko. And the guy is annoyed and does not understand why Abino told her about this. Miko enters the classroom with a bento in her hands. All her classmates are shocked, and the guy is sure that she has a reason for being here. But she offers him to have lunch in the schoolyard because she made this bento herself. The guys from his class fly up to him and ask since when he has been dating her. Daiki says that's not true. The girl says that she just made bento, and the guy asks her to stop playing on his pity. Lela says that there is nothing wrong with that, and asks him not to forget to use defensive techniques from Aikido. Meanwhile, in the schoolyard, he sees a huge variety of dishes in the bento and is surprised that the girl made it all herself. But the girl upsets him, saying that everything here was assembled from semi-finished products in 10 minutes. In any case, it's rare for him, so he thanks her. But she stares at him, and because of this, he can't even try the food. The girl asks how the food tastes. He says that it's quite good for frozen. The girl starts crying from these words because she got up at 2 in the morning to make this bento, and he says that it's quite good. But the guy doesn't understand what else he should have answered, because she herself said that these are semi-finished products. She tells him that this bento was made as a token of gratitude. He says that making bento doesn't suit her character. The girl in turn says that she will now be honest in her words. Close her eyes tonight. He tells her that she did him a great favor, but the girl replies that it was just gratitude. Although she thought that she could express her feelings of gratitude if they became buddies in hookups. But the guy only says that it is not like her at all, and she could tell him everything honestly. She says he saved her, but she can't repay him properly. And yet she says words of gratitude. The girl asks if he was shocked, but the guy replies that a smile suits her better. These words make the girl blush. Lela peeks out from behind the wall and says that she finally found the house where Daiki lives, and it is quite typical for this country. The list of her classmates' addresses she got, thinking it would be useful, paid off instantly. She tried to follow him home, but he slipped away every time. She notices someone coming. This is Abino and Daiki. The girl says that he has a rather nice plebeian shack. The guy does not understand whether this is praise or not. Lela does not understand why Abino is here and notes that recently they began to communicate closer than usual. She jumps out from around the corner and says that it is very disgusting to talk so nicely in the middle of the street. The guy asks not to shout about it to the whole neighborhood and especially not in front of his house. Abino says that it is normal because she came to her friend's party. Lela does not understand at what point they became friends. And the Miko just makes fun of the girl, saying that it's hard for her to understand what the word friend means. The girl explains that today the boy turned 17, so she must congratulate him. And Daiki says that she is the only one who came to this party. He spent about 3 years in that world, so he is not 17 anymore, but it is quite difficult to explain, so he just keeps silent about it. Abino reminds her that the party is for friends only, but she will find it hard to understand since she doesn't have any. She annoys Lela more than usual. The conversation on the phone yesterday. Abino found out about Daiki's birthday and decided that they should have a party and he should let her come. He doesn't understand how she can act so prim. Lela notices that the girl is quite relaxed, compared to how tense she was until recently. Abino asks if she really thinks so, because it is quite difficult to be alone and there is no free time at all because she has to be on the phone all night. Lela starts to get annoyed by this conversation and how Amiko cannot understand her disgusting behavior, to which she receives in response that it is just vile envy. Lela asks if she is not ecstatic that she finally made a friend. The guy distracts them from their argument and says that his mother got excited about the idea and got ready after he said that his friends would come. Then he asks Lela if she wants to go with them. The girl is a little confused, but she doesn't want to miss such a chance. But Abino in turn gets furious because it was supposed to be a friendly event, only for true friends, sacred to true friendship. Daiki asks her not to change the concept. Then he clarifies that they agreed that they were just pen pals. These words make her even angrier. She can't believe that he could say such a thing. Tears start to flow from her eyes. She says that even after he leveled up with her body, who would have thought that he would think of her like that? But the guy only asks her to stop, because in the future it could result in a huge misunderstanding. Lela realizes what kind of communication they had, and Abino was just trying to cover up her insecurity. Lela says she wants to talk about Aikido and join the dinner, but Abino says he won't let her, and she will decisively destroy anyone who wants to interfere with an event intended only for her. Daiki doesn't understand how everything turned out exactly, so he asks the girl to stop. The hero's mother comes out of the house and says that now it is clear why it was so noisy and what they are doing here at the entrance. She greets her son and then notices 2 more girls. Lela and Abino don't understand who this little girl is and think maybe she's his little sister. But the hero tells them that they got it all wrong and that she's his mother. The girls are stunned and frozen in place, not knowing what to say to them. Daiki can understand them because his mother really does look young, although in reality it is not even close to the level of the usual looks young. But his mother only gets excited when she hears the word young. After some time, everyone is already sitting at the table. In front of them is a not very good-looking pasta. Then Abino says that she is sure that he was talking about his mother's good cooking skills. Lela does not understand, maybe this dish is alive. and Daiki in turn says that everything tastes the same as it looks. The girl notes that it is definitely not the smell of food but chemicals, because they even have hydrochloric acid on the table. The guy says that his mother's yakisoba is simply deadly. The girl asks him again if she thought he said deadly. He says that yes, and this acidity is just incredibly tasty and wonders if the secret ingredient is acid. Mom answers that when it comes to him, secret ingredients are useless here. And Lela can't believe what she heard. And she firmly believes that his mother would never add something like sulfuric or hydrochloric acid to food, and thinks that maybe this is some kind of joke. Abino picks up the plate and tells the guy that he is very cruel and she does not like tasteless things, although it does not matter what it may be. The girl puts the spoon in her mouth and spits it out a second later, saying that her tongue is burning. The guy just says that it could be because it can be quite noticeable for people who aren't used to it. The girl continues coughing and asks his mom if she really added acid to it. But the woman doesn't listen to her and just says that she'll make the next dish. The girls realize that this is what they call a lousy dinner, and they thought that such things were nothing more than fiction that could only be found in novels or anime. And this is terribly shitty food that has real poison added to it. Daika's mom comes to the table and introduces her new dish, saying that it is perfect for those who like spicy food. Lela thinks to herself that these chili shrimp look quite tasty, but she doesn't dare try them, saying that she gets indigestion from spicy food. Then Abino asks if even though she grew up in Italy, spicy food is not her cup of tea. But the girl tells her that it doesn't matter in the slightest to this situation. Then the Miko makes fun of her, saying that she is still a child and has not grown up in any of the concepts. But then Lela asks her to try it, and the girl accepts the challenge and puts the fork in her mouth. But a second later he spits it out, saying it's too spicy. She is okay. Daiki's mom says that the possibility of someone eating a whole spoonful of death sauce is simply impossible. Abino's cool image was completely destroyed. The girl is still trying to cope with the spiciness in her mouth. The boy's mother wonders if Lela is not going to eat anything. This question leaves her stumped, and she says that she just has a stomach ache. The woman starts crying because the girl won't try her food. She thinks to herself that crying with such an expression on her face is simply a crime. Will she have to choose the lesser damage, the killer yakisoba versus the killer chili shrimp? Abino urges her, saying that if she doesn't try it right now, his mother will be offended. The girl tells her to be quiet. She chose chili shrimp because yakisoba killer, as the name suggests, contains poison. But she still can't eat spicy food, it's the only thing she can't stand. And she says that spicy food makes her stomach hurt. Then the guy's mother offers her yakisoba. Something drips from the plate and Lela realizes that it's acid. Daiki says that she is exaggerating and that it is very tasty. She does not understand why he does not notice anything. Abino asks why Lela does not like spicy food so much, but the girl explains that it is not because she does not like it. The guy clarifies the reason for her dislike of spicy food. The girl with tears in her eyes says that it's all because of hemorrhoids. Abino and Daiki freeze, not expecting to hear exactly this explanation. The room fills with silence. The guy apologizes, but the girl tells him to just shut up. And then the main character's mother enters the room with a firecracker, saying that it's time for presents. And Abino points out that his mother doesn't know how to read the atmosphere at all. To prepare anything, and Abino hands the guy his gift, saying that this was a gift from her and Lela. The girl did not expect such an act of generosity from Miku. The guy is surprised that they both knew, but the girl tells him that it is understandable and she will know everything about her teacher. She does not understand why Abino did this. And then the hero's mother interrupts them, saying that it's time to bathe together. They are shocked by what is happening, and they don't understand how, when they come to someone else's house, they should take a bath. But it's the Morishita family motto to bathe after eating. Abino understands the girl's reluctance to show her underdeveloped body. Lela undresses and asks the other to enjoy this spectacle. And Daiki in turn hears everything they say. The girls notice that the guy's mom's underwear is polka-dotted and she is embarrassed when they look at her like that. After all, she looks like a little girl. Swimming quickly, Lela does not understand Miku's desire to undress quickly, because in her hometown there is no tradition of undressing in front of other people. But the hero's mother reasons, and remembers that public baths have been permitted in Italy for a long time. This makes Abino want to undress Lela even more. And as soon as she touches it, she realizes that her skin is perfectly smooth, just like a baby's. That's why the girl didn't want to undress, but Miku says that it's pretty cute and so similar to a peach. The girl also decides to touch Abino and stands in complete shock. They said that they weren't planning on having a competition here. Then the guy's mom takes off her underwear and the girls are horrified and a scream breaks out. And the guy doesn't understand what's going on there. The next morning at school, the boy has no idea what happened to the girls and why they are silent. However, he is happy with the snacks left over from yesterday. A classmate calls out to him and invites him to eat bento together. Ono says that she prepared it herself as a thank you for saving her. And then he realizes that his main goal has been achieved. Having received the bento from the girl, he says that he will definitely accept it and starts eating. He puts a piece in his mouth and can't believe how great it tastes. The girl asks if everything is okay. After all, she thought that she and Abino were dating, but the guy refutes her guesses. The girl remembers that day and how scared she was, but she felt calmer when she fell into his arms. Since then, she has been watching him and noticed that he has made many new friends. That is why she thought that if she did not do anything, he would be stolen from her. The guy is shocked by her persistence. She asks if he is free on Saturday and asks him to go on a date with her. The guy stands in shock from what he heard. Abino's body becomes heavy, meaning that they don't care how things look because she is in the formation of the 4 sacred beasts. 4 spellcasters use their powers at the same time and take her loot. She says that it is very mean of her sister. The sister says that she also did not want to resort to this method, because she could easily die for them. Abino doesn't understand why she is hated so much, but her sister tells her that she is even dumber than she thought. Because Abino always tried to follow in her footsteps and was better than her, and that was a real thorn in her side. Besides, the girl's existence would reduce her inheritance. She says it's very harsh on her younger sister, but she doesn't care because she's going to get a huge inheritance. The sister says that Abino should die in the abyss of fear and despair, because the 9-tailed one likes it. Over the past 3 days, she has not defeated a single monster, so she currently ranks last. The sword she holds in her hands has been passed down from generation to generation, and the girl wants to give it as a parting gift. But then suddenly her father calls out to her and says that, unfortunately, the girl will become an offering. Abino asks if father heard that she was thwarted in her ghost catching. Father has heard all about it, and he praises his eldest daughter, saying that she tried hard. After all, the girl didn't have a chance to fight the ghosts, but their family will be safe for the next 2 centuries. Abino wonders if this is related to her older sister's marriage, but her father denies this speculation, saying that strength decides everything. Finally, the older sister gives her heroin, saying that although the victims are forbidden to commit bad acts, she still cares about her little sister. The girl pushes her away, and because of this, the bottle breaks. The very idea that they are related by blood is disgusting to her. Before leaving, the older sister tells her to enjoy herself as much as her heart desires. Meanwhile, at school, Daiki sits at his desk and is excited about his upcoming date with the chairman. He is in the clouds, imagining his deepest desires, but Abino pulls him out of his thoughts. She came to him not in the best mood. He asks what happened to her. The girl is interested to know what kind of relationship they have. The guy answers without any difficulty that they are just pen pals. She asks what he means by that. Daiki says that they are friends who send each other messages. The girl is not very happy with his answer, but she asks if he can spare a couple of hours for her on Sunday. His reluctance to go is written right on his face, so she decides to ask if he has any plans. He says he has already planned a trip to the cinema with a classmate. After his words that they are just friends, something in the girl's chest begins to hurt. The girl asks if this event is very important. The guy replies that it was planned in advance. She tells him that she has some free time, so she wanted to go out with him. But in reality, she just can't ask him to risk his own life to protect her, so she just says goodbye to him and leaves. And the guy tells her in response that they will see each other next week. But the girl understands that by that time she will no longer be alive. And most likely, this is the last time she sees the light. She feels that the entire mountain belongs to the 9-tailed. She thought that she was already mentally prepared for this, but apparently she was wrong. Abino can't rely on Daiki because it would be selfish of her to ask him for help. She wants to send him one last message because they were pen pals. In her message, she asks him for help, even though she knows it looks pathetic. She says goodbye to him, but she was glad if he could become her real friend. Tears roll down her eyes. And now she has no regrets left, and she is ready to meet the ghosts. In front of her are 2 earth spiders. The girl understands that they want to deprive her of her powers and torture her to death. But she's not going to give up so easily and will fight until the very end. Lela says that these monsters cannot be defeated alone. Abino did not understand at what point the girl appeared here. Lela says that her mission is to destroy monsters, and she must also return the favor. Miko sees a girl with snow-white wings, a symbol of a magical angel. She reminds her that the last time the earth spider gave her a good beating. But Lela explains that she couldn't take this matter seriously while in the city, and she says that she doesn't intend to do anything bad here. And she also didn't expect to fight side by side with an Asian Miko. The girls enter the battle. Meanwhile, Daiki is with the student council president. He is having a lot of fun in her company. They walk and discuss the movie, talking about what they liked about it. And the guy thinks that the youth he dreamed of has finally arrived. He wonders why she invited him on a date. The reason was simple: her boyfriend dumped her. The guy didn't expect to hear that in response. And the girl continues to say that she plans to take revenge on her ex in the same way. She leans against his arm and they walk down the street like that, a feeling unknown to him, and he feels all the softness passing through the sweater. The guy's phone vibrates. The girl asks who it is. But after he reads the message, he leaves the girl and goes somewhere. It was a message from Abino. The chairman doesn't understand why he would go to her since they aren't even dating. But he explains to her that she's just a pen pal. Creepy, selfish, and persistent. He tells her honestly that she is a rather anxious pen pal. And yet the chairman understands that she is an important friend to him. And if he doesn't go there right now, he won't be able to call himself a hero anymore. The guy quickly says goodbye to the girl and goes to save his friend. He teleports to another location, and the people around don't understand what that sound was. And the chairwoman sits alone because she was abandoned. Meanwhile, Abino and Lela. Miko asks if it's time for them to stop, but the girl replies that the fun has just begun. These earth spiders are too strong, and Lela was seriously injured. Even Dominion's regenerative abilities can't handle them. Before they can come to their senses, they see two more earth spiders in front of them. Lela rushes into battle. And it's not for Abino's sake, she simply won't allow herself to be made a fool of in this state. Even though it's against all the principles of the Vatican, she will throw away all prohibitions. A strong light emanates from the spear. Now Abino understands that it was not a copy, but a real valuable relic. And now all of Lela is dressed in full spiritual armor. And she says that she will destroy all these monsters. Miko understands how strong the girl is since she was given a sacred relic. And now she understands that she has her own circumstances. The girl flies at the monster with her spear Longinus. She says it's easy as pie for her. But at that very moment she loses consciousness and the monsters are closing in on them. This is not a top-class ghost, stronger than even a ground spider. Even the exhausted Lela, who possesses sacred power, will not be able to defeat him. The ghost aims straight at Lela, but the girl lying on the floor only smiles and is already ready to meet her death. But suddenly someone stops the monster. It was Abino with her talismans. But even with their help, she is not able to defeat him. Now she is ready to accept defeat. But an enraged Lela flies from above with her spear and plunges it straight into the monster's head. He is finally defeated. The girl notes that he is quite strong. Miko says that her recovery abilities are simply amazing. But suddenly Lela finds herself on the ground, as if someone had pushed her while she was in overload mode. Someone's voice says that it is amazing, and the trembling from deep within the girl's body becomes stronger and stronger. This voice belongs to the Nine-Tailed. He is surprised that the girls were able to defeat even the Juiki. And the girl feels the difference in their strength and cannot move from the spot. He did not expect that such amazing people would exist in this era, and they deserve his praise. The girl says he is quite indulgent. He says it is so boring. She gave him a mediocre answer and people in every era are the same, but he still wants to reward the girl. However, her body does not move. He is going to eat her personally so that he can hear her screams of fear and pleading. She tries to keep her emotions in check. But the Nine-Tails adds that perhaps he should let the demons possess her in the end to soften the meat before he eats it. He asks to get the maximum pleasure from it. But then suddenly all the monsters fly apart in different directions from the crushing force. Daiki runs towards the nine-tailed fox with a sledgehammer in his hands and hits it on the stomach, sending it flying to the ground. He gets furious and says that it was he who made her friend cry. The Nine-Tails starts laughing and says that it's great to experience so much pain. And this is the first time it's happened to him since he was sealed, and he should praise Daiki. The guy, in turn, says that it must be a great honor for him. The Nine-Tails can't believe that some boy could hurt a god, and he is the first victim he will be able to enjoy. But Daiki just thinks that he is incredible. After his blow, he only got bruised and remained without serious injuries. And if it were an ordinary monster, then after such a blow he would have been wiped off the face of the earth. And he did not receive the title of god for nothing. He asks who the boy is connected with. The hero does not understand the essence of his question. The Nine-Tails asks him not to pretend and thinks that the guy is also a god. He explains that when he hit him, he was sure that the boy could feel his divine spirit, and he clarifies which goddess he is from. Daiki, in turn, does not understand what is being discussed and says that he is just his friendly neighbor. Then the god decides to find out the truth through torture and runs towards the guy to cripple him. But the hero deftly dodges each blow. God notices that he stopped both of his blows and understands that his previous attack was not pure luck. And yet he does not want to give up and throws the boy to the ground with all his strength. But Daiki continues to resist. God just laughs at this, so he decides to continue hitting him. Abino watches all this, and he understands that this is a deadly but at the same time simple attack consisting of a huge number of blows from above. It is difficult to defend against such an attack, and even if it does succeed, another one will immediately follow, which is why such a position is a huge advantage. God asks if Daiki had changed his mind about his decision, and thought that the guy would hold out a little longer. But Daiki continues to dodge his attacks and realizes that the god's physical abilities exceed his own. The girl wants to help her friend, but the guy stops her and asks her not to interfere. But Abino can't just stand aside. God in turn asks her to calmly watch their duel and how he breaks her friend's bones. Now Daiki understands what the power of a god is. The Ninetales asks him to enjoy his punishment for opposing a god. He tells him that he has long since lost faith in him. At the same time, the guy activates the skill, strengthening physical abilities. God attacks the boy again, but he stops his blow and knocks him back. The Nine-Tailed could not have imagined this outcome and does not understand what just happened. But Daiki calms him down, saying that he only tore off his ear and for a supposed god, it was too easy. The man can't believe it. To be honest, the hero was also scared at first when he called himself a god. But he realized that his status was not much stronger when he still didn't stand out in any way. And he could only defeat the princess from another world, who was ranked 25th in the sword competition held in the capital. Being afraid of him was a waste of time, and it was necessary to beat the nonsense out of him from the beginning, because the girls suffered greatly. And he just can't end it all that easily. God laughs at the hero's stupidity, but he doesn't listen to him, and asks not to say anything unnecessary but only to attack. God takes his beast form and attacks the guy. He understands that it was only his copy and he himself is behind, and he begins to perform the dance of fury of the fox god. The girl doesn't know how to help her friend, because this is a terribly fast combo of blows. God wonders if it is not too cruel of him to use all his divine power on man. And Daiki, who came out of the fog, doesn't understand when he's going to show this fox god. Abino doesn't understand how he remained unharmed after such a barrage of blows. God says it's impossible. And the guy asks if he's finished and if he can make his move. Daiki disappears from his sight. And then he appears in front of him and hits him in the face, from which God only flies up and cannot believe that he was unable to see the man's attack. He doesn't remember how long it's been since he received such wounds after arriving in this country. And yet the god asks if the boy is sure that he has shown his full power. He says that he is not a melee fighter, but in fact, he is a spellcaster, and his most evil spell is Impenetrable Circle. Even though the guy didn't take him seriously, if he had any tricks up his sleeve, he could be much stronger than the demon lord. He uses a barrier spell. The boy and girl can't believe that this is what a protective barter spell looks like. It is an impenetrable circle that should repel any physical or magical attack. A spell from Legends, which has caused many powerful practitioners to be defeated and destroyed. The god has clearly gone mad and says that he has finally gained the true power of a god. Daiki says that it is a great surprise, but the man says that the boy does not understand the full horror of this barrier, while it protects him from any attacks. Then the god can use as many offensive spells as he wants, and he assumed that the hero would see all this horror with just one glance. The guy stands in shock and says that he is really surprised. After all, he knows very well what kind of technology it is. And no matter how you look at it, this is the most common advanced defensive magic, and every high-ranking priest is capable of using it. And it's considered middle-class magic, and his princess used it on the whole group all the time. God says that even Daiki can't break through this barrier and now he's invincible. The guy reasons that he just needs to break through this impenetrable barrier. God just says that it's a funny joke. And no matter how high his attack power is, this barrier will repel anything. And to think that a practitioner like Daiki couldn't realize it, the Ninetales overestimated him. Be that as it may, the hero asks if the god will be satisfied if he breaks his barrier. But the god tells him that he is looking forward to seeing the grimace of despair on his face. In this case, the hero will no longer hold back. Daiki activates the following skills: Hero Attack, Dragon Spirit, Magic Spirit, Divine Diamond Power, God of War, Unstoppable Power, Supreme Ruler Attack, Absolute Destruction. And yet he decides to stop there and not overdo it, because he is afraid to use his power to the fullest. Daiki aims straight at the barrier created by God, and destroys it with ease. And then he asks what he will do now. The fox god was taken aback and asked the young man in a panic what the hell that was. Morishita Daiki looked down at him, and dust was scattered around the young man. The girls were also very surprised. Morishita said that even if the fox asked, it was just a full-force strike. If he had some secret weapon, he'd better use it quickly, although he would simply destroy that weapon with brute force. The fox god said that it was impossible and that the situation was wrong. He said that he refused to believe it. Morishita replied that in fact, all of this was very possible. The man smirks and says that he must admit that the man is no match for the boy in fighting ability. Morishita puts his hands on his hips and replies that it means the fox man has finally accepted it. If he gives in and just runs around the fields and forests like a normal fox, then he will forgive him. At this point, the man got angry and asked the boy if he was really asking him to give up. He smirked and said why would he give up when he was in such a winning position. Suddenly fox tails appeared on him. Morishita sees the fox's tail splitting. Suddenly, a dark silhouette appears behind one of the girls. The man says that wouldn't it be a fitting punishment for a naive knight in shining armor like the boy to see his precious girlfriends torn to pieces without any resistance. He rejoices and says that victory is his. The girl realizes that in front of her is a clone of the nine-tailed fox. Although even if it is a clone, she will not defeat him. The girl gets into a fighting stance and apologizes to Morishita. She says that she refuses to be a burden. The next moment, the girl brings the dagger to her neck. Morishita gets scared and calls her, but the next moment, snow-white wings appear behind the girl's back. She is grabbed by her partner, who tells the fox that he has wasted too much time, and also turns to Kaguya and says that she will not let her go to hell until she pays her debt. Morishita picks up the bat and happily shouts to Lela that she did a great job. He then closes his eyes and begins to concentrate. He opens his eyes and begins to attack using a vacuum cut. The next moment, he attacks the clone of the fox god. The man says happily and nervously that they were able to avoid this trap, and then asks the girls to look the other way. He holds out his hand. The next moment, earth spiders appear right in front of Lela and Kaguya, and they land right in the clutches of 9 of them. Lela understands that she won't be able to deal with the earth spiders in overload now. Then some kind of glow occurs, and the girls understand that the spiders have disappeared. Suddenly, something starts making jumping sounds. The fox god says that these are specially bred camouflage spiders. He asks the boys how they can avoid something they can't see. Morishita realized that the spiders use invisibility. He guesses that it is an optical camouflage skill then. Lela was surprised that the enemies were invisible, and then realized that they were still there. He turns to Kaguya and asks her to try to stand up too. Kaguya apologizes to the girl and says that she is completely paralyzed. Lela says that she can't fly with her and could the girl lose some weight. Kazuya asks Lela if she really envies her curves at a time like this. That's very much like a girl. Morishita, looking at them, wonders if girls don't reveal all their weaknesses. At that moment, the fox god says that he will catch them both. Suddenly, Morishita shouts to Lela about 2 hours and advises the girl to jump back. She does so, and at that moment they are attacked by an invisible spider. The fox god was very surprised, and Kaguya shouted that the spiders were surrounding them. Morishita said that they were now attacking at 6 o'clock and advised the girls to jump 12 meters to the right. The fox god didn't understand how this was possible and how practitioners of their level could easily dodge the attacks of invisible spiders. At this moment, the girls continued to dodge. Morishita and Kaguya exchange glances, and then the girl calls Lela and says that there are spiders right in front of her and she needs to try her best. The girl is surprised. At this point, Morishita uses a zero-type attack and at high speed uses a vacuum cut, cutting through multiple spiders in one hit. The fox god was very surprised and did not understand what just happened. Morishita said that it was a combo of Abino Senpai's enemy detection skill and Lela's evasion abilities. He also said that the fox god underestimated them. The fox god began to laugh nervously and said that it was all sad, but his failure to take hostages was nothing more than simple bad luck. The dice of fate had simply fallen in favor of the young man and the girls. He smiled and said that their strength was equal, no doubt. Morishita asks what kind of nonsense the man is talking. His so-called allied copy of himself and the invisible earth spiders he had placed were exposed from the start, and even this stupid trap, to say the least, was dealt with perfectly well by the girls. The girls realized that the fox man would go berserk. The fox said that it was just nonsense. Morishita said that, in other words, checkmate was set the moment the man decided to lay his paws on his friends. The fox god grabbed his head and said that this was some kind of nonsense and that it was simply impossible. Morishita added that it seemed the man had no more aces up his sleeve. He asked the fox what he would do. Would he meekly give in or continue his futile attempts? The fox began to laugh irritably. The man says that it is impossible for mere humans to defeat a god. Morishita replies that if that is the case, he can beat the hell out of the man and not hold back. Morishita activates the attack hero skill, and then adds activated skills to enhance physical abilities, piercing flesh and bone breakage. At the end, the young man activates the skill of accumulating strength. He rushes straight towards the fox. The man smirks and tells the boy that he's been caught. He was expecting the boy to reveal himself with his last move. At that moment, a glowing aura appears around his hands. He tells the boy to get his last trump card. The man uses a sacrificial technique that turns all your magic power into combat power. It is an attack of pure magic power. The fox thinks that it doesn't matter how many dubious secret techniques this youth uses. After all, he is still a living being. He cannot overcome his physical limits, and at such a moment, even a fierce god cannot dodge. He shouts that this is his last blow and the boy will definitely not escape unscathed. At this point, Morishita, with an unwavering face, asks the man if he really thought he wouldn't make it in time. Morishita says that the fox god was unlucky because he got there just in time. At that moment, he punches the fox in the face, and he flies far into the sky. Lela and Kaguya were very surprised, and the young man held his fist up. The man flew into the air with a scream. He thought that he barely made it, but he believes that he was able to successfully turn his fighting power into defense the moment the youth struck him. He uses this opportunity to escape. As punishment for inflicting such terrible wounds on a god, the youth is definitely suffering from hellish torment. At this moment, he notices something. Below stood the young man who had activated the magic seal. Morishita said that since he was so tall, there shouldn't be any problems, and because of what happened earlier, he was able to practice his magic powers. The young man says that he must be very precise and destroy the evil beast. Morishita uses a forbidden technique that only a hero can use. The man mumbled fearfully for Morishita to stop, but it was too late. The youth released a huge stream from his hand. He used the skill of the Doom Hunter. At that moment, the man was attacked. The Doom Hunter destroys everything within a radius of 200 meters. He thinks that there is no need to check whether the fox man is alive. Then he exhaled and said that the destruction of ghosts is finished. And then he clenches his fist and says that means the nine-tailed fox's final blow is an attack of pure magic. He gestures towards the explosion and says that if he had taken the attack, he believes it would have hurt as much as if he had hit his little finger on a table. 2 days had passed since the defeat of the nine-tailed fox. Kaguya asked Morishita if he liked the tea. She held a teapot in her hands and said that it was the highest quality green tea available at the moment. Kaguya thought about it and said that the tea was quite tasty, but it's strange for him to be in a house made of cardboard boxes. Kaguya answered with her hands on her hips. Does the boy know that she will be embarrassed if the boy continues to praise her like that? She is proud of how well everything turned out. Since then, Kaguya has kept the destruction of the Nine Tails a secret and, as it seems, has challenged her family by claiming that they miscalculated the timing of the Nine Tails revival. Kaguya said that she stole the tea from her family. They did not welcome her with open arms, so she left home with what she had. Morishita asked what the girl ate in general. Kaguya replied that she baked cookies from ground acorns. Luckily, they fell almost constantly in the park. She also said that eating carbohydrates was important. Morishita turned and said that she wanted to make sure, but the girl was actually from a prestigious family. The girl replied that there were times when it was possible, so to speak. Then he asked if the girl really hadn't brought any money with her. Kaguya replied that she had paid for everything mostly with her family's card, and now she only had 7 yen left in her wallet. The girl had an idea and said that she was poor now. It was the first time in her life that she felt that way. Morishita said that he couldn't sympathize with the girl at all. The boy asked the girl if he could lend her some money. The girl replied that she didn't want to be indebted to the boy. Morishita told the girl that he understood her feelings, but he thought she should go home. The nine-tailed source of her family's discord was gone, and her parents were the girl's real family. Kaguya replied that this would never happen. They are fools who are ready to drug their daughter with something and make her a servant of the spirit. Here it is already about them not interrupting each other this time. The young man said that he understands her. Kaguya said that she definitely made a mistake. Morishita asks if she is talking about leaving home. Kaguya gives a negative answer. Kaguya said that she broke a bottle of bad stuff, but she could have sold it for a lot of money if she had foreseen everything and taken it. Morishita said that this girl is definitely worth stopping at. The girl said that she was at her limit and that yesterday's rain had damaged the house. The roof was leaking like a sieve and she was ready to cry. Morishita thought that the girl had done nothing wrong. There was no reason to treat her like that. Morishita replied that that was why he was talking, even if it was a little she could offer her savings. Kaguya calls the boy and asks if she is really beautiful. Morishita asks why she is talking about it. Kaguya replies that she just wants to make sure. Morishita said, the girl is more beautiful than modern idols. Kaguya said that moreover, she is already at the limit in many ways, so she is already thinking about doing something with herself. Morishita said that he thought that if he advertised in the media, there would be many people who wanted it. He had already said that if money was needed, he would lend it to the girl. Kaguya replied that this was precisely why she needed Morishita's help. The young man was surprised. Kaguya said that he sells to a handsome guy at the club first. She asked the boy not to chew. Since he doesn't know how to deal with people, she will negotiate the price herself. The boy said that this girl doesn't know how to deal with people. If Morishita is willing to do something like that for her, then she will also have the courage to sell herself. Then she will also have the courage. Morishita asks if Kaguya realizes that she has completely lost her mind. Kaguya said that no matter what, she was in such a hopeless situation. Morishita said that he understood everything, but asked not to sell the girl for cheap. Kaguya said there was no need to worry, she wasn't going to sell it cheap. Morishita repeats that she should put all these thoughts aside. He says that he went home, but the girl should refrain from making decisions without discussing everything with him. The girl said that she would be careful. Morishita thought that somehow this did not make it easier. The next morning, Morishita was walking in his school uniform and said that Kaguya's stubbornness was causing so much trouble, even though there was no danger right now. He then pointed to the banner and said that this cafe was kind of expensive. He points out that a cup of coffee costs $1,500, and this is when there are people in this world sleeping in cardboard boxes. He points out that this is a hierarchical society in the flesh. Suddenly, he notices Kaguya, who is leaving the cafe with a cup of coffee. The girl notices Morishita. The young man asks why the one who was eating chestnuts yesterday is now sitting and elegantly drinking expensive coffee. Morishita says that she simply cannot have that kind of money, so could it be? She agreed and said that she did it. She said that she sold it and couldn't sleep a wink that night because she met it like that. Morishita said that he was actually wrong about the girl. Even though she was pushed to the wall, to sell something so valuable so casually for so little. Kaguya agreed and said that she had definitely sold it cheap. However, they agreed on a price of $1.5 billion. She asks the young man if he understands that when there is no money, there is no choice. They arrive at a cafe and sit down at a table. Morishita asks if the girl really has Japanese yen. Kaguya says that of course, 1.5 billion yen. Morishita asks only someone like an oil magnate could afford to buy it for 1.5 billion. Kaguya said that she did not sell it. He says that she told him clearly yesterday. Kaguya said that it was a joke and she would not sell it for 10 billion. Morishita asked what the girl sold then. Kaguya said that her family had been respected and had many connections since ancient times. So it seemed that they were entrusted with the custody of many national treasures as trusted persons. She asks the boy if he has heard of the Muramasa and Masamune blades. The boy asks if it is true that these blades often appear in video games. Not only are they national treasures, but they are also top-level exorcism magic weapons, and there are plenty of buyers in this field. Moreover, Lela Sakaguchi is currently in their city, so she has made many useful connections through her. At the end of the day, no matter what country you are in, religious groups always have a lot of money. Putting together the two kanji for believer, you get the word prophet. The kanji are actually very well composed. Suddenly, the TV was interrupted by breaking news. The news was that several swords considered national treasures had been stolen from the shrine. It was an incredible loss, and the city police department had launched an investigation. Morishita was surprised, and Kaguya said that it seemed like the Dominion had recently gained a lot of strength. So they were in dire need of not only replicas of holy relics, but also bladed weapons. So by making a deal with them, she made a huge profit. They paid the entire amount at once. Morishita thought that this woman had sold family heirlooms that were national treasures. Morishita asked if there really was no guard. Kaguya turned to Morishita and said that his enemy detection and concealment skills were simply incredible. Kaguya said that she didn't expect to be undetected at all. Morishita realized that he had taught the skills to someone very dangerous. However, to sell such large valuables, and wouldn't the Japanese exorcist organization start a hunt for the girl? The girl said that she was not introduced, but it seems that Lela put in a few words for her with the big shots, so they won't suddenly start a hunt for her. This is the injured High Priest Abenasan. This incident happened because of their negligence. There was a man on TV. Kaguya said that, by the way, this is her father. Morishita was surprised and said that it seems like he is in big trouble. It won't be on the news, but she's sure her father has already received orders from the proper authorities. Now the Abeno branch of the family will lose all their power. Morishita said their wealth will be confiscated, and they will be forced to work as priests at a shrine on an isolated island for 737 an hour. Morishita said that this is despite something so terrible happening to them. He asks the girl if she is really okay with it. The girl says that it upsets her, and something like that can't help but upset her. This is too lenient a punishment. Why would they send them to an island? She mentions that there are so many refugees around. What they mean is that her family, who are bad people, will live a wonderful life despite the suffering of so many people around them. Morishita asks why they only took their wealth. They should have demanded the lost profit from them. The girl asks if these people really find Dom Perignon, who squeezes out of poor people. Morishita thought about how the girl had lived the same life until recently. He thought about how the girl's attitude was very changed. Kaguya smiled and said that in the meantime, she stole some treasures from her older sister and cousins. She thinks that it is chaos there now. Morishita asks the girl what she stole. At this time, the girl at the station screams and curses Kaguya, saying that she will never forgive her. The boy asked what she was going to do now. Kaguya said that she was thinking of buying a penthouse in a tall building in front of the station. Even if it was too big for a single high school girl, she wouldn't mind investing in something that could be rented out later. Morishita asked the girl if she hadn't just been criticizing undeserved income. But then now it means the problem is solved. He decides to have coffee too. Kaguya replied that the problem is not solved at all. Since they still haven't figured out the most important thing, Kaguya then turns to Morishita and asks if they are really skipping school. The boy is surprised and asks the girl what she means. Kaguya tells the boy that they are going to the coast together right now. Morishita doesn't understand what the girl means. After a while, they get off at the station, and a wonderful view of the sandy seashore opens up before the children. Kaguya calls Morishita and asks him what his favorite dish is. Morishita hesitates, but Kaguya asks him to name dishes other than the ones his mother would cook for him. Morishita says he likes ramen. Kaguya said that she also likes ramen. She suggests that the boy in this case go to a super popular restaurant next time. Morishita agrees with the girl. They sit and admire the sea. The girl calls Morishita and asks if summer will really come in a couple of months. She asks the boy if he likes the ocean. Morishita agrees, and Kaguya replies that it is a coincidence because she really likes him too. The girl then asks him what type of swimsuit he likes best. Morishita replies that he likes striped bikinis. Kaguya agrees and says that this is exactly what you would expect from a boy like Morishita. She doesn't have a swimsuit like that, so she suggests that they go shopping together next time. Morishita is surprised and tells the girl that he is imagining things or that she has been acting a little strange lately. Kaguya asks the boy why he thinks so. After all, she and the boy are friends, so skipping school to go to the ocean together or spending time together during summer vacation is something they should do. The boy agrees with her. Besides, they are quite close after all, and if you think about it, it has been like that lately. Kaguya then asked the boy, is he going to get a wife in the future? The boy answers that it is better to have a wife than to be alone. Girl asked, what if he was in for the cliched development of events when his wife asks if he wants to take a bath or have dinner? Morishita asks why the girl is even saying that. Morishita replied that he would agree. Kaguya replied that she would too, and then suggested that in that case next time they should buy only things. Morishita asked the girl to wait. Morishita asked Kaguya what she meant. Kaguya was surprised and said that she was talking about that very thing. Morishita said that was the question and asked why the girl was talking about something like that. Kaguya thinks she is a stunning girl. The boy asked her why she is so proud of it. To be honest, the recent events have made her think. She asks the boy if he thinks that for someone who fights on the battlefield, one thing is a disadvantage. Morishita asks the girl if she really thinks so. If they had lost that time, she would now be more broken than the main character of a sex drama. She would be all wet and slimy. Morishita told the girl that she was describing everything too graphically. Kaguya agreed and said that in their society, the market only values girls as victims. Morishita asked what society the girl was talking about. Kaguya said that in this way, she thought that she should lose her treasure. By the way, if she loses the treasure, she will change from a humble girl to the most powerful girl, but she doesn't understand if it will affect the strength of the effect. Morishita said that he has no idea what this girl is talking about. Kaguya asks if the boy really wants to part with his treasure as soon as possible. Morishita looked at the girl and started shouting, asking what the girl was talking about. The boy said that he would seem to be a surprisingly hopeless romantic, but he believed that his first time should be with the girl he loved. Morishita debated whether it was true that after his first time his partner could be anyone. The boy said that was not what he meant. Be that as it may, he does not want to decide something like this with his partner, and does so out of principle, that he just happened to be at hand at the right time. Suddenly, Kaguya appears in front of the boy and slaps the boy's cheeks. She asks Morishita if he really thinks she would talk to him so casually about something like that. She says that she has an interesting body and a hot heart. If the treasure is taken away from her, she will become that same ordinary girl. The young man asks the girl how confident she is. Kaguya is embarrassed and says that, however, she is a hot girl. Morishita asks what the girl means. She wonders to the boy if he really still doesn't understand everything and if he really hasn't understood anything. She wonders if the boy is really some kind of cliché of their novel. Kaguya says that's enough, then she will tell the boy plainly. She runs straight to the sea, and then sighs and shouts towards the sea for Morishita to become her boyfriend-fiancé. Morishita is embarrassed and asks the girl to wait, saying that he somehow did not understand her words at all. He asks about the friend fiancé. Morishita is surprised. He doesn't understand what the girl is doing and whether she is serious. Then the girl turns to the boy and says that he really hates her. Morishita says that he does not hate her. Morishita thought that she was definitely not the girl he was looking for, at least that's what he thought. But they became close without even realizing it. Morishita said that in that case he would definitely answer the girl seriously. He says that even if they start dating, they don't know anything about each other. That's why not start getting to know each other better as friends first? Kaguya says that the boy made her say such a thing, but at the same time he wants to remain ordinary friends. Morishita says that they are more than friends, less than lovers. Kaguya agrees and says that's enough for today. The girl then says that her right hand is lonely. Morishita asks if the girl is really asking to hold his hand. She says that they are more than friends. If so, shouldn't they hold hands? Then they hold hands. They walk through the city and Morishita tells the girl that the station is on the other side. Kaguya replies that everything is fine and they will only go one stop. They can walk this short distance holding hands. Kaguya then calls Morishita and says that she was betrayed by her father and older sister and it was very sad. The boy says that it is definitely so. Even for such a family, the girl thought her heart would break, but she doesn't care anymore. After all that day in that place, the young man came for her. And now they walk hand in hand. That alone makes her happy. Even if she could start her life over again and she had to go through the same betrayal again, she would probably go the same way for this moment. She can't trust them either, but that's how she truly feels. Besides, the words she was about to say to the boy would really never be heard by anyone else, even if she never repeated them again, so the boy had to listen carefully. Kaguya says that she is crazy about Morishita and loves him very, very much. After some time, the story turns to a girl named Murayama Tauka. She is an ordinary high school girl who works as a baseball club manager and is a little concerned about her overly curvy figure. Her family circumstances, however, are anything but ordinary. Her father, an office worker, began investing in stocks when she was in elementary school. Initially, he used only his salary to trade, but then to recoup his losses, he went headlong into trading. At first, everything went well. However, without realizing it, he spent all his savings and began borrowing from relatives, and when these bridges were burned, he borrowed at high interest rates. When even this was not enough, he borrowed money from moneylenders. Having reached the point of no return, his father committed a terrible act, and as if this grief alone was not enough, the family's misfortunes did not end there. A man came to their house and said that this was the way they should pay off their father's debts, because this was the natural order of things. The girl's mother said that now that something like this had happened to her husband, it was already difficult for them to exist, and such a debt was beyond their means. The man said that they were very sorry and that it hurt them too, but he told the girl that since the woman's husband's life insurance had paid off most of the debt, there was only a little left. He suggested that they try their best and pay off the debt. The woman tries to say something, but suddenly the man starts shouting. He asked her who allowed her to raise her head. The woman got scared and started apologizing. The man smiles and asks her if she understands that she shouldn't do this and shouldn't anger such a kind person like him. The girl hugged her younger brother to her chest. The woman's part-time job certainly won't be enough to pay off the rest of the debt, so he has great news for them. One of his friends owns an exclusive club, so her daughter can work off the debt there. The girl asked about the club. The man said that it was a club that provided services to gentlemen who preferred young women. So with such forms and considering the age, it would be easy to pay off the debt. The man then laughs and says that after working there for 10 years, the girl will be able to pay off the entire debt. The woman replies that her daughter is still a high school student. The man replies that the woman still continues to resist. They can't do either this or that, so why do they continue to cause him problems? Club walks into the room. The man breaks a beautiful ceramic teapot and says that his hand slipped. The man with glasses called it bad luck and said that such incidents are inevitable, but you never know when an accident might happen to your loved ones. He can't guarantee them that something like this won't happen again to Madam or the girl's little brother. Toka gets scared and hugs the boy. The muscular man said that he had sweated quite a bit and then turned to the man with glasses and called him Big Brother. He said that since he was going to sell Toka anyway, he wouldn't mind if he tried her first. Toka was scared. A man with glasses asks a muscular man for a hockey stick for a second. The man gives him the stick, and the next moment the man with glasses swings at the muscular guy. He hits him on the head with a stick and says that even fools should think about what to say, because the madam's daughter hasn't even agreed yet. He turns to the girl and asks if it is true that she has not yet agreed. How can one call oneself a professional if he is going to sell her after using her? He asks the man if he really thinks that clients will be satisfied with her reluctant services after this. He doesn't want to tell her to pay off her damn dead father's debt before he does it. Everyone has to be responsible. It's all about customer satisfaction. The man asks him to stop. The man with glasses apologizes and says that it seems that their staff is not well trained. He calls them disgusting and says that these days everything can be solved with violence. He then suggests that they end their conversation here. However, their patience is not limitless either. They will wait until tomorrow, so he suggests that the girls think it over carefully. They will wait for good news. Then he says he completely forgot. He throws the envelope and says it's a symbolic memorial offering to them. Then he asks the man to take them home. After some time, Toka walked around the city and tried to understand how it came to this. She can't think about anything and doesn't want to think about anything. Until recently, she had a family and a boyfriend, and she considered herself the most ordinary happy girl. Her boyfriend cheated on her, her father died, and starting tomorrow she will not be making a living in the best way. The girl starts laughing nervously and asks why she is alive at all. Suddenly, the girl sees Morishita and Kaguya in front of her. Toka asks Morishita what he is doing in a place like this. Toka sees Kaguya and thinks that Morishita is with Abino after all. At this time, Kaguya asks Morishita why the boy let go of her hand. The boy says that he did not do it on purpose. Toka thought, looking at Kaguya, that they were completely different. She was rich, so problems like hers did not concern her. Morishita turned to the head and asked if everything was okay with her. Suddenly, Toka noticed that she was crying. Kaguya asked if the girl was okay. Morishita replied that it was not and that he did not think so. Toka thought she knew that she would only cause him trouble, but if it was Morishita, then maybe he would help her. Toka falls to the ground and asks Morishita to help her. After some time, Morishita told her story and added that the men said that if she worked for 5 years, she would be able to pay off the rest of the debt. Morishita said that he understood everything and they said that tomorrow the girl will have to give an answer. Suddenly, Kaguya sighs. Kaguya asks Morishita that this girl is really the same head of his class. Her face is average and her shape is a bit absurd, but did all the useful substances go to her shape instead of her brain? She expected that the girl was some kind of a natural since she holds the position of chairwoman, but the girl is just a pathetic fool. Toka gets angry. She says that even though Kaguya is older, Kaguya has no right to insult. Kaguya turns to Morishita, saying that as far as she remembers, the boy's father works at a credit union. Then he should know better than this uniformed girl. Morishita realized that the girl was covered in thorns. Morishita asked the leader when her father died. Toka replied that her father had died 2 months ago. Morishita asked if the girl knew what renunciation of inheritance was. The girl did not understand what the young man was talking about. Morishita replied that the girl's creditors, the so-called Yakuza member, said that the family had to pay off her father's debt. Toka agreed and said that, after all, one always had to pay one's debts. The young man replied that the girl was not obliged to do so. Toka was surprised. Morishita said that he wanted to say that the girl was not obligated to pay them a single yen. According to the law, the girl does not have to pay anything. The parent's debt is strictly defined by the contract between the parent and the creditor. The girl can file a lawsuit and get rid of the debt completely. There is a time frame for this, but the girl must have enough time. Toka reminded her of those men. Kaguya asked Toka to accept her condolences regarding her father. However, the girl does not deserve sympathy. She drove herself into a corner with her stupidity and weakness. She was greatly intimidated, and she stopped thinking, did not dare to ask anyone for help. The strong devour the weak, that's God's plan. It's an incredibly ordinary and boring scene that happens every day in the world. Morishita said that the girl is explaining it all wrong. Toka said that she understood. What she says about money, it all sounds strange. She is weak and stupid, but they are talking about the Yakuza. She asks what a high school girl can do against them. Everyone lives in awe of the powers that be. She asks if this is really wrong. Should she really be punished like this? Kaguya agrees and says that weakness is a sin in itself and she does not deserve pity. Toka is surprised. Kaguya says that the girl also has teeth and nails. She could gouge out their eyes or bite off their noses, but still. However, if she remains the same, she will literally be eaten, or the girl wants it. Then Kaguya said that they would help her. Even though she says this, it is not because she feels sorry for the boy or has a special sense of justice. It just looks interesting, but she is only speaking for herself. Toka said it didn't matter how much the law was on their side, but what could they do against the crime syndicate? Morishita told the leader that everything was fine. He asks Toka where the Yakuza office is located. Toka gets scared and asks the boy if Morishita is really going there. Morishita says that they are going to have a little chat with them. Kaguya is also going there. After some time, they come to the Yakuza base. The man in glasses says that he only thought that the girl had already made up her mind and did not wait until tomorrow, but what does this all mean? Morishita said that it was as they said. According to the law, Murayama would give up his right of inheritance. The man began to laugh and talk about the law, which greatly irritated Morishita. The man then tells Morishita that he has no idea where he got such superficial knowledge from, but the adult world is a terribly complicated place. It would be great if children didn't interfere with adults' debt agreements. Morishita asks which of these is superficial knowledge. The man says that the young man sees what else a high school student can have besides superficial knowledge. Kaguya turns to Morishita and says that at the end of the day he is still a creditor. He seems to be well aware of his illogicality, but he is not going to listen to them. Morishita agrees. The man says that he congratulates them because they were able to learn more about the adult world. If Murayama pays his debt, everything will be resolved by mutual agreement, and they will go their separate ways. Morishita says that they don't agree with that, and isn't it obvious? The man is surprised. Morishita says that they came to discuss everything in good faith. He asks if they could explain what he said wrong. The man with glasses tisked and asked what he had said wrong. The man threatened Morishita and told him not to come to the Yakuza office to make jokes, throwing out random phrases about laws that make you sleepy. They are a crime syndicate outside the law. Now they must hurry and run home while he is in a good mood. He prepared to smoke. Kaguya replied that she hated tobacco smoke and could the man please stop doing it. The man was surprised. He blows smoke directly at Kaguya. Morishita thinks that it is useless and whatever. He asks the man to resolve this peacefully. According to the law, the Murayama family will renounce the right of inheritance, and this outrageous case will not go to court. He suggests that the man do so and forget about everything. The man asks the children what they are doing. He turns back to them and says that they don't seem to be afraid of being Yakuza. Morishita thinks that he is a hero and Kaguya is an exorcist. After all, there is no reason for them to be afraid of trash that is not even worthy of being called small fry. Morishita said that this is how they will solve everything. The man asked the children if they really underestimated them. Their business is based on image. If a crime syndicate were to go along with pathetic high school students, it would be a bad example. If they fell on their faces and sincerely apologized, they would let them go home unharmed. Kaguya starts laughing. She says that the crime syndicate is bullying the weak in such a miserable office. She asks the men if they are not mistaken. In crime syndicate terms, this family is a branch of a branch. Do they understand something like a fallen branch? And anyway, even in the case of a real crime syndicate, dozens of police officers with automatic rifles would have cut them down within 30 minutes. Not even the army would have had to intervene. They can't even be compared to a crime syndicate or even veterans of a war-torn country. She thinks they are armed with knives and guns at best, which is ridiculous. Without training, they can't defeat even the most ordinary police officer. Having a status overshadowed by the real source of power called states, how can they even shamelessly call themselves some kind of power? The man asks the girl, what is the girl leading to then? Kaguya fixes her hair and says that she alone has enough to knock everything out of the men, so she asks them to attack. Morishita said that he thought so and it couldn't be any other way. The man laughed and said that this lady was really crazy. He orders his charges to regret that the children regret that they were born, but she is a beautiful diamond, so they must not harm her. Kaguya smirks and says that she still hasn't given her name, but her name is Abino. The man doesn't understand what Kaguya is talking about. The girl asks if the men are sure of their actions. They, being people outside the law, are going to lay hands on her. The man said that this girl has actually gone crazy. They are going to capture her. Kaguya smiles and says that this is a declaration of war. She smiles and tells Morishita that it looks like they did it. Gold rush confirmed. Morishita asks about the gold rush. He asks the girl to wait. The man asked if the boy was going to pack. Morishita declined and said that they had no intention of resolving this peacefully from the start, but they tried because it would have been a hassle otherwise, but everything was perfect. The man turned to his colleagues and told them to shut up this little thing quickly. Morishita calls Kaguya and asks her not to kill men. He asks the girl not to overdo it and asks if she heard him. Kaguya replies that as someone who lives in the same world of absolute darkness, she will teach them a lesson in true strength. The man swings but misses. Kaguya grabs his arm and flips him over herself. She thinks that the man gets a knight of points for his strength. Kaguya says that the Abino school of Aikido, the fast dragon arc strike. Using that technique on such a small fish is a waste of energy. Morishita thought that it was Aikido, and Kaguya's fighting strength was an order of magnitude higher than that of an ordinary person. If they lived in the Sengoku period, she could actually challenge 1,000 men. The man says that this is impossible for this muscle-headed guy, who is a third Dan fourth belt in karate and who was defeated by a high school girl with one attack. Kaguya says that since the small fry are over, it is now the man's turn. Kaguya then said that he had lost the will to fight, and he hoped that the situation with the Murayama family's debt after they gave up their right of succession would be resolved. Toka thought it was incredible. Kaguya said that there was a limit to how small a fish one could be. Morishita said that there was no opponent here that could satisfy Kaguya. Toka thought it was amazing that high school students wouldn't give in to the Yakuza even an inch. She then called Morishita an albino and said that she was terribly sorry. The boys turn around and Kaguya says that she shouldn't thank her, she's just sweeping disgusting cockroaches off the streets. Toka is embarrassed. She thought that even though she couldn't become like Kaguya, she wanted to be like her too. At that time, Morishita said that Kaguya had overdone it. The girl replied that they should be grateful that she didn't kill them. Toka thought about what the gold rush Kaguya was talking about was. The next day, the girl told Morishita that she had heard something about Kaguya and whether it was true that the Yakuza were picking a fight with Kaguya. Morishita agreed and asked why there was such a commotion. The girl realized that it was true. She said that she was joining in too. There was no way she could turn down such a juicy story. Morishita asked if she was really joining in. The girl said that, however, in the end it was unwise to declare war on such a small fish. It would be great if no one interfered with them. She then said that this girl is actually a great fighter and now they can't feign ignorance. Morishita asks the girl what she's talking about. The girl asks Morishita if the boy doesn't know. Morishita replies that's why he doesn't ask. Morishita realized that the skill, danger detection, was activated and the enemy detection skill was activated. Everything turned out as he expected. Suddenly, the boy stood up, and the girl said that she was just explaining her get-rich-quick scheme. Morishita approached the leader and said that it actually happened. He was talking about the situation he told her about yesterday. Toka asked if everything was okay. It didn't matter how much of an expert Morishita was in Aikido. Morishita smiled and told Toka to leave everything to him. He put his hand on his hip and was very confident. At this time, the Yakuza came to Toka's house. They shouted at the girl's mother, asking if she was laughing at them by sending children to them. The woman did not understand what they were talking about. The man told her not to play the fool. They pushed her and then told her that you can't just take money from a big Yakuza boss and then get off easy by refusing your inheritance. The man swung his arm, but suddenly Morishita stopped his hand. The boy said that they were very predictable and how glad he was that they behaved exactly as he expected. The man said that this was the same guy, the one who did this to Shimabukuro. Morishita asked them what they were going to do now. If she just left, they wouldn't come after them. The men pulled out their guns and said that they weren't some errand boys either. Morishita scratched his forehead and said that if that's what they wanted, then he thought there was no need to let up. Morishita appears right behind him, who neutralizes the enemy. The second man also lunged towards Morishita, but he deftly dodged his knife attack and eliminated the attacker. Morishita looked at the third man and said there was one more. The man got scared and told the boy not to come closer. The next moment, he threw a knife towards him. Morishita managed to catch it with 2 fingers and said that the pro would have to use a knife on a high school boy. It was shameful. He then threw a knife, which pierced the criminal's leg. Morishita asked the screaming man if he knew that this was all in self-defense. He cuts off the hands and says that he now believes they have sorted everything out here. He would like to say so, but these men have made a real mess here. The next moment, the men got into a car and drove away a long way. Toka turned to Morishita and said that he was actually an Aikido master. Morishita agreed indifferently and said that he was glad that Toka was so naive. Morishita said that it only proved that the Yakuza attacked without caring about their reputation. Toka said what would they try now if their actions didn't work. Morishita said that as far as he could tell, that was the worst-case scenario. Then he said that this scenario is the worst, of course, only for the Yakuza. At this point, the muscular man said that he had to admit that he was very glad that he had such a strong body. The head of the Yakuza turned to Shimabukuro and asked if he had received any information from the guys they had sent to Murayama's house. The man replied that he had not received anything yet. The man said they had gathered some real bad guys. He thought they were enjoying themselves to the fullest. He said that in their day, the Yakuza who handled everything themselves were out of fashion. Did the man see that outsourcing was very important in their day? Suddenly, the muscular guy's pants vibrated as a bell rang. He says these are the guys they sent to Morishita. If you can't deal with a strong one, you just have to hit his family. He picks up the phone and asks how it went. The men ask if this is what they agreed on. It was supposed to be a normal person. Suddenly, they shouted about danger. The call went dead. At this time, Kaguya stood next to the men and said that the security of the high-class penthouse should be impregnable, but she believed that they had thrown their main forces at Morishita and the chairman's family. At this moment, the man took out a gun and said that she was a monster. The next moment, Kaguya cut the man's gun. Kaguya turned around and asked the men if they really thought they could take her down with a gun. She added that they were underestimating her. The men were angry, but one of them realized that his legs were not moving at all. They looked down and saw that they were being held by some hands with sharp claws. The next moment, Kaguya struck down the men. She said that no matter what, she wished they had had a little time to react. That magnificent sword would think it was being neglected. The muscular man was on the phone asking if the man could hear him. The Yakuza boss asked what was wrong, to which the man said he thought the boys were drunk or something. The man with glasses said he figured it was inevitable. Then the man said their food had arrived. The man opens the door and says it's too noisy and they shouldn't ring so much because they're not deaf. The two men show their ID and say they're from Sakurada's department. After a while, they are arrested. The police say that's it. If all members of the family are arrested or hospitalized, the family will fall apart. Criminal organizations could only survive by hiding from the police. Once they cross the line with citizens, that's the end. Toka looks at the police car and asks if it really ended that quickly. She asks what about her family's suffering. Morishita says that it wasn't Toka's fault, but they took advantage of her weakness. What happened to her family was truly unfortunate. Toka agrees and says that everything is okay now. Suddenly, Kaguya approaches Morishita and asks the boy how dare he. The boy turns and tells Kaguya that she took care of everything on her part too. Morishita suddenly gets angry. The girl told the boy how dare he. Lela asked what the police were doing here and didn't the guys say that this was some kind of bonus level. Kaguya apologizes to the girl and says that it seems Morishita personally called the police. Lela is surprised. She started to beat Morishita. The young man thought that it was very painful and if it had been someone else in his place, he would have died already. Lela asked the young man how he dared. Lela said that even if it was Morishita, it was unacceptable. And now this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity would simply disappear. Kaguya said that she could swear. She asked him to just keep an eye on the office. She asks the boy how he dared to take matters into his own hands. Morishita tolerates the girls and thinks that this is what true anger is. Some may consider it a threat, but it turns out that the leader escaped and took the car. Kaguya overheard the police officers talking and said that it seemed like she still had a chance. Kaguya told Morishita to hurry up and find the leader with her enemy detection. She asks if this is a good time to sleep. Morishita thought that this was despite the fact that they could leave all the showdown to the police. He activates the enemy detection skill. Kaguya gives Lela the command to catch a taxi and says that they are going to kidnap this Yakuza. Morishita was surprised. Kaguya said that she was sure that he had enough money to escape. Lela added that they somehow managed to get back to the bonus level. Morishita asks if the girl has a bonus or gold. Lela said that she can't really say it. Kaguya uses the spatial rupture skill and now the drivers can't hear them. This skill is very useful. First of all, the government and countries have not officially recognized the existence of the Abino family or dominion. They are extraterritorial, in other words, underground organizations. Long ago, their exorcist founder had incredible power. Morishita learned in school that a shaman ruled in the past, and he guesses about Himiko. Kaguya replies that they were taught this, but in reality, it is different. In fact, this person had superpowers, in other words, their ancestor ruled from the shadows with brute force. As civilization developed, science and military tactics evolved and the complete dominance of the past disappeared. However, their forces still have to be reckoned with. Morishita said that if several dozen people committed a terrorist act, they would be impossible to deal with, and yet, these organizations also do not want to start a war with the country. Kaguya said that even a fool like the youth now understands the essence. He asks why the government would ignore such organizations. They made an agreement in the early 20th century. They are just an organization that fights only ghosts. They do not show themselves in public, do not associate with politics, the government, or ordinary citizens unless absolutely necessary. In return, the government does not interfere in their affairs either. Morishita understood what extraterritorial meant. However, as you would expect, any reckless actions towards citizens will eventually land you in a high court. However, in the case of someone from the criminal world, the situation is completely different. And by different, it means that the decision is entirely up to them, including murder. Lela said that both sides had suffered great losses recently, so there was no argument. Morishita asks why this gold rush then. Kaguya asked if the boy lacked understanding. If murder was allowed, then extortion and theft were also perfectly legal. Besides, she had already worked from the shadows so that they could not say that they did not intend to fight them. But all these preparations were in vain because the young man called the police. Morishita said that the girl's whispers were terrifying. Kaguya added that this Yakuza, who made a huge amount of money from illegal loans, he, being an exorcist and an ally of justice, cannot let them get away with it. Morishita said that Kaguya was an ally of justice. Lela said that their financial situation is difficult, the government does not support or finance. They cannot miss the opportunity to get rich quick, and the Vatican's budget is limited, so if you see money on the ground, pick it up. Meanwhile, at the hotel, the Yakuza boss was going through his papers. He said he had a feeling he had heard of them before. He remembers Abino and says to think they actually exist, so it wasn't an urban legend. The man says that she is just a normal high school girl. He thinks that they shouldn't gather. The man says that she is a real monster. He asks them if they took the machine gun and what about the grenades. The men didn't understand what was going on with the leader. They realized that he had been strange since he came. Suddenly, the Yakuza leader sees a car through the window, Morishita and Kaguya getting out. He shouts that they are here. The man says that it simply cannot be because only they know about this place. Suddenly, the door handle starts moving and then comes off. The men are scared. Morishita held the door handle in his hand and said that he had torn the handle off. Kaguya said that these guys would pay for everything, so the boy should not worry. The Yakuza leader told the man to open fire immediately. Kaguya appears behind him and says that she said it was a waste of bullets. The girl suddenly uses a blow with the butt of the sword. Morishita thought and said that the blow with the butt of the sword is not that strong. The head of the Yakuza shouted at the men to do something and fill them with lead. Suddenly Lela appears. The man points a gun at her and starts shooting. 2 bullets pierce the girl's body. The man starts laughing nervously and says that he managed to hurt her. Suddenly Lela asks the man if he really thinks that it doesn't hurt at all. She says that no matter how blessed she is by God. But the man understands that she can't help but feel pain. Besides, she doesn't have many spare uniforms. The man calls Lela a monster. The girl got angry and hit the man, saying who he called a monster. The girl started kicking him and screaming that it was wrong to call her that. The man shouldn't even think that he could just separate himself by calling her a monster. Morishita thought that the man was poor. Morishita says that this really should be the end now. He turns to the Yakuza boss and says that the man screwed up by caring so much about his face. Kaguya told Morishita that a man like that never learns, no matter what he says. The war won't end until one side is completely destroyed. The Yakuza leader starts laughing and says that children don't understand anything. It will never end. Their leaders, that is, members of the organization, are very numerous throughout the country. From now on, they will hunt them forever, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And their families and friends, even their acquaintances, it doesn't matter. All the people important to them will be destroyed. Suddenly, Kaguya slapped the man in the face and asked if he was trying to imply something since he had no family or friends. Now they need to get him to give up the location of the hidden money before the police arrive. She'll give him a chance. Either he'll tell them everything quickly, or they'll do nothing, or they'll move on to scary things. She asks the man what he'll choose, showing him a pair of scissors. After some time, the police arrive at the hotel. The policeman says that out of nowhere a bloody shootout has occurred. He does not understand who the Yakuza were fighting with. Another policeman says what he wants to say about this. The man asks about some high school students. He asks if there really is no one to question. Suddenly, the man gets very scared. They see the Yakuza leader in a very strange form with a rose. The policeman did not understand what it was and what kind of animal could do something like that. The Yakuza leader was foaming at the mouth and talking about Abino. So in total, they got about 50 million yen. That's their jackpot this time. Lela said that this time they were just regular carriers, so if they split it equally, there shouldn't be any sting. The girls ask Morishita if he's okay with it. The boy thinks about it. Kaguya asks the boy if he has any complaints. Kaguya says that they definitely considered the possibility that if they got the grenade launchers and anti-tank rifles, they could leave everything to Morishita. Morishita realized that they brought him along for that reason. If the girls want to share them, they must give his share to the head. Even the insurance money paid for the death of his father was taken from the head. In this case, this money will be a kind of compensation. He cannot bring himself to take it. Lela asks the boy if he really wants to become a saint. If he puts it that way, she can't just say that he'll take it anyway. Kaguya says that she thinks so too. For the first time since losing her own, she understands the importance of family. She loves money, but she's not a miser. Lela said that settled it then. It was stolen money anyway, so if they told the boss that the Yakuza were kind enough to return it, she was sure she'd take it. Morishita thinks they are quite a funny couple, but ultimately they are not bad at all. After some time, a cart with suitcases appeared in front of the young man. Morishita, surprised, asked what it was. Kaguya said there were 570 million yen. Lela added that she didn't expect them to have that much cash. Morishita asked about over 500 million. He asked where the money came from. Kaguya laughed and said she was sure the Yakuza said it was natural for children to pay off their parents' debts. Morishita said that couldn't be true. Kaguya said that it was. After all, they had visited the headquarters of their main crime syndicate to talk face to face. After all, parents should take responsibility for their children's affairs. They had these peace talks. Lela said that no one died, so the guys don't have to worry. However, they were talking about the headquarters of a crime syndicate. It was surprising to see that they had so many MP5s and grenades. Morishita asked how this could be called a peace talk. Their leader surrendered after they defeated 3 dozen of the strongest Yakuza. Morishita said that the money was paid to settle the conflict back then. Obviously, they wouldn't have made such a fuss if it wasn't profitable. Even though they had enough money to buy a whole castle at that time, these two were truly determined to get more than 100 million Japanese yen. Kaguya says that then since this work was done in Abino's name, she will take 370 million for herself. Lela would take 200 million for herself. Lela said that considering how many people attacked her, it was nowhere near enough, but this time she would accept it. Morishita counts his money and asks where his share is. Kaguya tells Morishita that he didn't do anything this time. How low could he have fallen if he decided to grab something for himself after that? Morishita says that the girl has a point. He thinks that in that case, there was no need to wake him up so early today. Kaguya told the boy not to worry, from now on, she will pay for every date they have. The girl said about dating and traveling and even paying for the wedding and the subsequent living expenses, she would take care of all of that. Morishita was surprised. Kaguya asks if the boy doesn't find this a reasonable return on investment. Morishita thinks that smile should be illegal. Kaguya said that the boy blushes so cutely. After a while, Morishita approached Toka and asked if she was really studying law again. The girl said that she understood now and did not want to remain weak. Besides, this way she would be able to understand what to do in different situations. Morishita asked the head if she had really changed. Lela notices them and thinks about that thunder attack during the battle with the Nine Tails. This skill is out of this world and there can be no mistake. To think that this guy was actually a hero from another world. She realizes that he is that older brother. A strong and kind hero who saves the weak and destroys evil. Someone like that only exists in fairy tales. A girl named Ariel remembers going fishing with her parents. The girl's father said it was incredible and she managed to catch a real giant fish. Ariel had a kind father and a wonderful mother. The days when these three lived in the old castle by the lake were blissful. The girl's father was a purebred vampire and her mother belonged to a race hostile to vampires. They broke the taboos of their races and got married. Essentially, they ran away together and hiding their true identities, secretly settled in an old castle, isolated from civilization. One evening, Ariel told her father that she wanted an older brother. The man was surprised and said that it would be difficult to arrange. The girl asked if she really couldn't have an older brother. Her mother asked Ariel not to bother her father. The man told the girl that it was time for her to go to bed. The mother said that the father would read her a picture book. After a while, the man finished telling the story of the hero who defeated the monsters and saved the princess. Ariel asked her father if she would really become a vampire one day. The man asked Ariel if she really wanted to drink blood. The girl said no. The man said that in that case the girl would not become a vampire. Ariel said that if her father drinks blood, he is a bad monster. The man said he definitely drinks some of their livestock's blood, but he vowed to never attack a human again. Ariel said her dad is a good vampire now. The man laughed. Ariel said that a hero kills monsters, and isn't there a chance that he could kill dad too, even though he's a good vampire? The man said that Ariel still didn't get it. The man said that being a hero doesn't always mean defeating monsters. Saving people in trouble and preventing evil from happening is what it means to be a real hero. The man asks that if Ariel ever gets into trouble, the hero will come to her aid. Suddenly there was a sound. The man said he would go and see and told his wife and Ariel to stay home and not show up. Suddenly there were shouts. The men said that to think that a man would take human form and hide in an old castle, they ordered him not to let down his guard. Ariel ran to the exit and called her father. She saw her father being pierced with spears and he himself taking the form of a vampire. The girl called for her father. One of the knights saw her and said that this was rare and a child vampire ran out to them. The man took on human form and called Ariel, then told her to run. The knights realized that the vampire was still able to move. They used magic and started to destroy the vampire. The girl screamed and the knights gathered to catch her and she would make a great souvenir. Suddenly, Ariel was grabbed by her mother and ran away. The knights realized that this must be the vampire's partner. they gathered to catch her. Suddenly, the woman had white wings, and people were surprised that she was an angel. To an angel mother who ran away with a vampire and a half-breed child, the way back to her hometown was closed, so they moved to a human city. The girl's mother got very sick there. The exiled mother had no choice but to sell herself to a show specializing in horrific monsters to earn money for food. She was eventually defiled by a demonic disease. The woman turned to Ariel and told the girl to listen carefully because this was incredibly important. The name Ariel means that the girl is an angel, so she must not tell anyone about it. And the power with which the girl, as an angel, was born, a blessing, must not be used under any circumstances. She asks the girl if she will fulfill this promise given to her mother. Ariel agrees. After some time, the woman dies. Ariel listened to the words that before the girl was taken under the wing of some other monster, they should lock the girl away in some concentration camp. She has monster blood in her. As if they would let such a parasite stay here, they have no idea when she might attack someone. In the end, some men got some money. The men said it wasn't enough to even cover the rent, but he figured it was better than letting the girl die in a roadside ditch. They see her wings and realize that this girl is also a half-breed. She can be given to some man with interesting inclinations. Eventually, they were loaded into a carriage. A girl with a pendant on her neck told Ariel that she had a very beautiful hairpin. The girl agreed. The girl then asked Ariel if she understood that if they told her to do something, then she just had to do it. Who knows what might happen otherwise? Ariel remembered her father's words when he said that if Ariel ever got into trouble, the hero would come to her aid. She believed that her father himself had told her so. She believed that the hero would come to save her one day. Suddenly, the carriage with the captives stopped. People heard screams that they were being attacked. Ariel thought that a true hero would save them. Someone strong and kind would come and save them from hell. However, some men appeared who said that all the captives were useless, and unlike gold, they were too bulky. And then why didn't they get rid of 3 or 4? Ariel realized that such a person still had not come. After a while, the man held up a bloody necklace and said that the girl had already kicked the bucket. All that was required of her was to obediently hand over this piece of trash. He said that this time they were all useless, and they needed to hurry and get rid of the rest. He then turned to Ariel in the cage and said that he had worked so hard to prepare this food, and she hadn't even touched it. The man turned to his colleague and said that if he scratched the goods, he would be in trouble. The man replied that in that case, only skin and bones would remain of the girl. She is so skinny that no one will want to take her and aren't the costs of feeding her growing. We just need to finish her off and use her for meat. The man asked where they saw meat in her, and now she is definitely only good for soup. Ariel thought that she didn't care anymore and wanted to go to her mom and dad as soon as possible. Suddenly, people heard a sound. They did not understand what the guards were doing there. Suddenly, a young man appears in front of Ariel's cage and tells her that she seems to have had a terrible experience. He reaches out to her and asks if she is okay. The sorceress girl said that these 2 must have been the last ones. Speaking of which, was such a bandit group really worthy of an A-rank reward? The other girl said that it was just that they had become strong. Then they saw the girl and asked who she was. The boy said that she looked to be about 6 or 7 years old and was quite frail. This must mean that he had been stolen from the traders. The girl said that she healed the girl, but she does not respond even if she tries to talk to her. The witch girl approaches Ariel. She says this condition is called shock. She thinks she experienced incredible pain for someone so young. Then the girl says that this is very interesting and this girl is half vampire. The boy said that she is half vampire. Of course, they feel sorry for her, but frankly, they won't be able to take care of her during the trip. From now on, they will meet a huge number of children passing by. So if they were to help each of them, they would not be able to fight the demon lord's army. The youth said that this was a correct point. The boy takes the girl in his arms. Ariel thinks about the smell and it is very warm. She remembers the smell of those times when she was happy. The young man asks if they can save the world if they can't even save one child. He won't lie and say that everything will be fine from now on. Chances are that they will only suffer more. Then he asks the girl if she wants to live. Ariel replies that she doesn't want to die. Ariel starts crying. The boy says that it is decided then. The sorceress girl is surprised and says that they are now heading to a sacred empire known for its hatred of monsters. They ask if the boy imagines what troubles await them if she brings a half-vampire there. The young man said that she was no different from a human, so everything would be fine. The girl says that no matter what, the boy is not going to listen to anything she says. Once they reach the sacred empire, they will leave her in the orphanage. After all, that is what one would expect from Daiki. Ariel thought that heroes existed after all, but this guy's scent was so familiar and warm. If she had an older brother, she was sure he would be like this. The girl asks the boy if he will become her brother. After a while, the sorceress girl said that all countries are equally prejudiced against those with monster blood, but they are talking about a shelter in a terrible sacred empire. Ariel will not survive there. The girl asked the sorceress if she had promised to do this from the very beginning. The girl answered that in the end, feelings can change. Besides, she's a good girl, or rather, too good a girl, and she seems to be afraid of being abandoned. She believes, you could say, that she simply cannot turn a blind eye to it, being someone who has also gone through the ministry. The girl said that, if you think about it, something similar happened to the girl. The girl replied that there was no need to cry every time she mentioned this story. The boy said that Ariel just keeps clinging to her and calling him brother. He thinks that this is also part of the defense mechanism. She has lost too much and is trying to maintain a fragile balance by relying on someone else. The girl said that it was just like Daiki said, even if it was stupid. She had a feeling that they would be sacrificing the purpose of what they were fighting for if they abandoned this girl. The girl said that if she is Daiki's younger sister, then she is also her younger sister, so she asks the boy to spoil her more. Daiki said it was a bit embarrassing. The girl added that he should act like an older brother. The magician girl said that the little sister sounded pretty good, then they all started laughing. Ariel heard them and she was happy. After some time, the detachment was in the mountains. The girl asked Daiki if they had really decided to go down this path. Daiki agreed. The mage girl said that they can't fly while the demon lord's army controls the skies, but despite this, there are ways around this cliff. Moreover, an earth god lives in this gorge. Earth god is an ancient earth dragon. Although it is weaker than the ancient flame dragon, which has already suffered a crushing defeat, it is still an incredibly dangerous opponent. Daiki says that with the demon lord's army invading, humanity has a very narrow window to counterattack. They don't have time to level up by hunting weaklings. Besides, they are no longer who they used to be. The blonde girl said that they had been through serious training since then. Daiki replied that he himself had no idea what he could handle, but he had done his best. Besides, if they couldn't win even here, they wouldn't stand a chance against the demon lord anyway. The girls agreed that given their current condition, everything would be fine. Daiki said that it seemed like he decided to show himself. An earth god and ancient earth dragon appeared before the squad. The boys prepared for battle. The little girl is sitting. She held the rock with both hands. She thought that Daiki was like the hero she heard about in fairy tales. The main character protected Ariel from a giant scary monster. The girl thinks that the very breath of this creature shakes the earth. She wonders if her brother and the others will really have to fight something like that. The protagonist tells his allies that they need the same formation as always. And then he suggests that they fight at full strength from the very beginning, to which the girls actively agree. Daiki activates skills including lightning speed, perfect defense, divine power, god of war. The hero is very focused on the battle. The bespectacled sorceress performs a summoning, saying, "O spirit who controls the logic of the entire world," and then asks him to show his power to her in accordance with their pact. She uses the highest summoning magic. She summoned Prirobus. The monster above the magician girl lets out a menacing roar as the stones hit him. But the stones are flying at the heroes too. Daiki's second ally activates perfect defense. She asks to show her a shield. And she stands up for her friends, covering them with a magic shield. But the girl in glasses says that in the end, it's not that simple. After these words, the heroes notice how the monster is approaching, and also its breath begins to blaze. And then the merciless dragon directs its flames at the heroes. Everything is falling apart. Ariel screams in fear. And the second ally understands that her magical protection is crumbling, but with difficulty continues to hold it. Daiki notices this, and then throws himself straight into the flames, which greatly frightens and worries little Ariel. The hero manages to cover the monster's flame with his sword, and Daiki immediately asks if everything is okay. Ariel, in admiration, tells the hero that it's really cool that he was able to block the dragon's attack. The hero commands, telling everyone to return to formation. The girls respond with understanding, and everyone enters the battle again. At this moment, Ariel thinks that she has only heard about this in fairy tales, and he really is standing in front of her. The girl with glasses says that their support can only do part of the job, to which Daiki agrees and says that now it's all or nothing, since they have no choice but to do it. The protagonist activates his skills, lightning speed, divine power, god of war, and then he prepares to attack. Daiki uses vacuum cut and reconstruction. He notices that his body is at its limit, but still attacks the dragon. The girls notice the monster falling and Daiki tells them to go back. The dragon hits the ground with a crash and remains lying down. The heroes rejoice that they were able to do this. The ancient dragon of the earth fell at their hands. Ariel thinks that if it is a hero, or rather, if it is her brother, then the Demon King can really be defeated. In Ariel's opinion, this terrible world can really change. At this moment, Daiki comes up to the girl and strokes her head. He praises Ariel and tells her that she really did everything she could. But their idol is immediately disturbed. Dark and unpleasant feelings gather in the dragon. The heroes are scared, and the blonde girl says that it's just unbelievable because she can swear that they killed him. She is shocked that the dragon is still alive, even though his tree of life has completely dried up. The dragon is moving. They understand that this is the resurrection of the undead and from the Demon King of Curses. So in this case, it turns out that this is a zombie dragon. Daiki realizes the gravity of the situation. His bespectacled ally rushes into battle against the dragon. She attacks him viciously with magic arrows. But the girl quickly realizes that this is useless, since the dragon's magical resistance is beyond this world. Daiki deduces that the monster's magic resistance has increased due to its rebirth as an undead. The girl with glasses says that she can no longer use offensive magic with the amount of mana she has left. Deiku's second ally joins the conversation, saying that if it is undead, holy magic should work on it. She then asks, addressing Deiku, that he deal with the dragon while she neutralizes it. He praises her decision. A girl with long blonde hair concentrates. Thorny thorn vines appear around her. She quickly sends them towards the zombie monster, solemnly casting the holy possession spell. The girl in glasses commands the word now. But the unexpected happens. The zombie dragon begins to attack the girl who released the thorn vines. The protagonist notices this in time. Daiki rushes to defend himself, and in the end, he himself receives a strong blow from the monster. The girl in glasses says in surprise that just think, the holy power doesn't work on him. The hero says that the monster is slowing down. But first of all, he didn't even take damage. He says that even if they cut him or burn him, it will be a waste of time and effort, and that everything will only get worse as it is now. But at that very moment, Ariel has a flashback. She remembers how her mother told her in the past that the angel's power of cleansing should never be used, because if people knew about this ability, they would be captured and used. Ariel realizes that the dragon is a dark force. She thinks that if she uses cleanse, she can erase the zombie monster, but she is afraid to take such a step after her mother's instructions. The heroes are confused. They are in a difficult situation and do not understand what to do now against the fire-breathing zombie monster. Ariel is still scared, but soon she manages to make a decision. She approaches the heroes. Daiki quickly notices this and tells the girl that it is dangerous here, so she should stay away. And then the hero advises her to hide well. The hero stops speaking in shock. Ariel shows her wings in a warlike manner. The main character's allies are very surprised. The girl in glasses recognizes Ariel as an angel. Meanwhile, a girl with a menacing expression slowly approaches the dragon. As she approaches the monster, Ariel ponders when she decided that there is no strong and kind hero. Daiki, worried about the girl, shouts at her to be careful. But Ariel is not going to listen to him. She continues her thoughts about the fact that now she knows that a strong and kind hero exists. Ariel escapes the dragon's flames on her wings. She looks at her friends with tenderness and once again plunges into memories of the past. The girl begins to remember the conversation with her mother again. She told her that the cleansing is undoubtedly a double-edged sword for Ariel. Mom tells her that the sinister light that erases all curses. However, this power can exterminate half of the vampire race, including Ariel. Little Ariel was scared by these words of her mother. But her mother continues. She says that, however, if her friend ever gets into trouble, what Ariel will do during this time is up to her to decide. At the moment, Ariel is high above the zombie dragon. She remembers her mom and dad. And then she says that she understands that her power existed for this moment. And immediately after these words, Ariel activates the cleanse. The heroes notice that everything has stopped, and that the power of the curse has been erased. The monster is defeated, but Ariel herself can hardly stand on her feet. Daiki notices this and tries to approach the girl. She happily, albeit in a weak voice, tells the protagonist that she was able to defeat the monster herself. Daiki grabs Ariel's weakened body. The hero turns to his ally the princess and asks her what this could mean. The girl thinks about it and then says that, after all, this light must have been an angelic cleansing, and from which, according to the girl, it follows that Ariel must have been a half-breed between a vampire and an angel. The protagonist, in excitement, notices that the girl's body in his arms is glowing, and asks what this could mean. His question is answered by an ally with glasses, who tells Daiki that the purification exterminates every type of undead. According to the girl with glasses, this power is capable of destroying half of the vampire race, as well as Ariel's body. The protagonist is amazed that the girl in his arms has such power. Ariel reaches out to Daiki and asks him, addressing him as a brother, if she really used purification. Daiki is shocked. The hero excitedly begins to tell Ariel that she really did it, and that the monster they could do nothing about died at Ariel's hands. Ariel then takes Daiki's hand and tells him that her mother told her to never tell anyone about something. But she tells him her name and then asks her brother to never forget it. Daiki holds Ariel's little hand with trepidation and answers her with agreement, and then adds that he cannot forget something like that. The protagonist turns to the princess, and after she responds, Daiki asks her if there is nothing they can do for Ariel anymore, and if there is a way to save her. The princess apologizes and tells him that there is nothing they can do to save Ariel now. The hero says with pain in his voice that he sees and understands everything. At this point, Ariel turns to Daiki, calling him brother again. She wants to ask him something and asks his permission to do so. The hero agrees. Ariel tells him that he is a real hero, and he asks if he could make her his bride if she were reborn at this time. Tears stream down Daiki's face. He tells Ariel that of course, and when she asks Daiki if he understands that this is a promise, the protagonist agrees with her without hesitation. Ariel happily says that her wish has completely come true. In response to her words, the hero, with tears in his eyes, tells her to just be happy, and that once she is reborn, next time she should, according to Daiki, do what she wants. He wants her to do whatever her heart desires, wants to take over this world. Ariel smiles sweetly at Daiki and tells him, again addressing him as his brother, that she understands, and then promises that next time she will be as selfish as she wants. Then, still in the hero's arms, Ariel tells him that her arms are also starting to disappear, and then says goodbye to Daiki. But he tells her that this is not goodbye. Daiki tells Ariel that this is not farewell, because when you break up with someone, you have to say that you will see each other again, since he will definitely see her soon as he goes there too. His allies also cry. Ariel reaches out her little hands to the hero, then kisses him tenderly on the cheek goodbye, telling him that they will see each other again. She says that her brother's chest is warm and then leaves gratefully. Ariel finds herself in some strange empty space and does not understand where she is. The space reasons that Ariel is a very intriguing case. The child of an angel and a vampire, according to the space, is a phenomenon that should not happen and a saga that should not be possible. It says that Ariel, like the hero, is also a singularity. Ariel asks the space who it is. The space answers her, but Ariel cannot understand it and only clutches her head with her hands. It tells her that because of her causal connection, she must be reborn to compose a new tale about their causal singularity with the hero. She falls down. Ariel is shocked and scared. Something is happening to her in that space. After some time, the girl notices that her hands have actually returned and then realizes that she is cold. Ariel wonders where she is now. Two large fires are approaching her, and Ariel is surprised and doesn't understand what it is. It's a car with a man driving it. He sees Ariel and is surprised to realize that she is a child, and then wonders what she could be doing all alone in a place like this. The man runs out of the car, taking off his jacket along the way. He then notices Ariel's wings and begins to wonder who the girl in front of him could be. He asks Ariel if she understands what he is trying to tell her. Then he asks if she has a name. The girl hesitates, remembering her mother's words that she should never tell anyone about this. The man is waiting. After thinking about it, she might just turn her name around now. Afterwards, she says more confidently that her name is Layla. Layla reflects on how it just so happened that she landed in Finland. She found herself in Northern Europe on 21st century Earth, in a world of science where monsters and magic officially do not exist. She was transported into the modern era. 10 years later, Layla, unfortunately in her opinion, was recognized by the Vatican as a miracle for having gained wings. And now she lives her second life as Layla Sakaguchi. In this world, there are ghosts that are considered enemies of God, and she is the one who is supposed to be able to drive them away. And in addition to receiving specialized education, Layla was recruited into the Dominions, which is an unofficial ghost extermination organization. She spent more time in this world, which is in the prime of scientific development, than she did in the one she came from as Ariel. And Layla's childhood memories have also become considerably clouded. But even so, the image of her older brother remained in her memory. It was the only thing she could never forget. In Layla's opinion, it was because she was a little girl. But nevertheless, for all those 9 years, in her memories, she always had this extremely glorified image of the hero. And Layla never understood it until she witnessed the lightning of the legendary hero. She thinks about Morishita, saying that he is one of the cowards. She thinks that his image is completely different. Knowing this, Layla actually thinks that although she did not expect an emotional reunion, but to think that they might not even notice each other. She thinks it's a good thing she's grown up really graceful after all, and that she wouldn't blame him if he mistook her for someone else. After destroying the 9 tails, she wanted to ask the hero about many things. but in the end, it was not the right time for her to break the ice. And also that whole situation was connected with the fact that they didn't have time to talk alone. But Layla remembers well the promise given to her by the main character that he would take her as his bride. Although Layla thinks that if it wasn't just something a child said, it wouldn't have been treated so trivially. Layla wonders if Daiki will remember the girl he saved during his journey. She also wonders what would happen if he found out that she was the same Ariel. She shyly imagines the scene where Morishita tells her that it must be fate, and then she imagines him asking her to marry him. But finally she can tell him that she had mixed thoughts, although she frankly speaking doesn't even know how to approach him. But she thinks that he would probably listen to her, since Layla believes that this is a really important topic. While in a nearly empty school classroom in the morning, the heroine thinks that Morishita should hurry up and come already, and then Layla starts to wonder if she's nervous. Layla hears a conversation between two guys. They are talking about something, pointing at the window, and then they start arguing. The girl, interested in such noise, looks out the window herself. An expression of shock froze on her face. She sees a dark-haired girl walking with Daiki, holding hands with him. Daiki asks his companion if he should hold her hand to go to school no matter what. To which the girl ironically answers the protagonist that he does not need to be modest, simply because it is too great an honor for him. The kids in the class are shocked to hear if it's possible that these two are dating. Someone says that of course he thought that these two have been incredibly close lately, but that they could be dating is a shock. Morishita tells himself that Abino Kaguya is not listening to him at all, even though he has told her more than once not to hold his hand in public. He thinks that they have struck again. The hero is called. At this moment, Layla suddenly approaches Daiki. She tells him with a very menacing look that she has something important to tell him, and then she orders him to go up to the roof. Daiki hesitantly agrees, telling her in response, okay. When the hero goes up to the roof, the protagonist carefully asks Layla if he did something wrong, because he does not understand at all why she is angry with him. The heroine asks Daiki why again, and then asks him back why he held hands with Abino Kaguya while walking to school with her. The hero is a little upset that Layla saw it. Daiki openly tells the girl across from him that he will explain it to her now since it is not a secret. She and Senpai are now more than friends. And then Daiki adds that they are less than lovers, more than friends. Layla is very surprised by the words of the protagonist. She thinks that it must be just a joke, because in her memory, there is a pure and untainted moment of farewell to the hero who once saved her. And then she wonders if the protagonist has forgotten his promise to marry her. In a state of amazement, Layla tells Daiki that she knows he is a hero who returned from another world. Morishita is amazed that she knew this, and then asks her where she heard about it. But Layla doesn't stop her speech. She tells the hero that he once saved a girl there. And then Layla asks him if that means anything to him. Daiki is upset and tells his interlocutor negatively, because he doesn't know what she's talking about, so he can't tell her anything. Layla is very hurt by his words, so she angrily calls the protagonist names, telling him that he's a bad person. Layla runs away from Morishita, and he absolutely does not understand the reason for her actions and emotions. Layla continues to call Daiki names in her head. She thinks she is the only one who remembered the promise all this time, thinks she is the only one who was in high spirits. Layla ran out into the street, and standing in the rain in a crowd of oblivious passersby, she thinks that for the hero she is nobody. As she stood, she blames herself for being naive and trusting. Layla reflects that she too worked hard in her own way in this world, despite having wings and fast regeneration, which only hindered her daily life. Layla understands that her fighting skills for the Dominions were also developed through rigorous training. She received special treatment due to being recognized as a miracle, which led to her receiving a lot of jealousy and envy from those around her. And even though Layla had to go through such a difficult experience, her promise to her big brother was still somewhere in her heart, allowing her to hold on until now. But now Layla realized that she was the only one who thought about things that way. And now, standing in the pouring rain, she realized the tragicomic nature of what was happening. And now Layla was brought back to the cruel reality by the fact that she forgot her bag. So now the girl understands that she won't even be able to return to her room. As she looked at the school, wiping the tears from her face, Layla thinks out loud that she wouldn't want people at school to see her like this. At that very moment, someone approaches Layla. It is Abino Kaguya. She tells the girl who is soaking wet in the rain that she was just thinking about that. At that moment, she became curious about who it could be. Kaguya tells Layla that she thought the girl in front of her was some kind of tattered rag since she looked like a complete mess. But according to Kaguya, it turns out that it was just a taller Layla Sakaguchi. And at this time, the girl with the umbrella smiles at her interlocutor Layla. At that very moment, Layla thinks that of all the people she could have met right now, She saw the one she least wanted to cross paths with. Layla dejectedly tells the girl across from her that she is definitely fine now, and then asks her if that is true, to which Kaguya responds questioningly. Layla, trying to hold on with all her might, tells Abino that she is a loner who has no one to talk to when she is hurt. Her interlocutor tries to understand what happened to Layla. Eventually, Layla breaks down and tears start to flow from her eyes. She tells Kaguya that even though she can talk, Layla is so damn upset that Abino is the only one she can think of. Kaguya, worried about Layla, tells her that it is really strange for her to see the heroine in such a depressed state. So Kaguya is now really interested in knowing what happened. And then the dark-haired girl asks Layla to tell her exactly what happened to her. After listening to Layla's entire story in the school hallway, Kaguya tells her that she understands and that she was able to grasp the essence of what was happening. She then adds that there were various shocking and unbearable moments in what Layla told her. Kaguya says that basically, although in another world, Layla made a promise to marry the hero, who is Morishita-kun, but he betrayed her. And in the dark-haired girl's opinion, this is what Layla was trying to tell her. To which the narrator agrees, and in her upset feelings she still repeats the words about the promise. And then Layla begins to get angry at the main character, calling him names. But suddenly Kaguya starts laughing, and then asks her interlocutor if she is mentally retarded. These words shock and surprise Layla. Kaguya tells Layla that Morishita-kun is not only a stupid person who saves everyone, but also a very kind guy. And that helping people is Daiki's job. After Kaguya continues, she explains to her interlocutor, asking her if she thinks Daiki will remember every person he helped. Layla, still confident that she is right, tells Kaguya that he definitely promised. And therefore, in Layla's opinion, she is an incredibly special person for Morishita. With a terrifyingly proud look, Kaguya tells Layla that she is not only mentally retarded, but also not very good as a human being. Layla is shocked by her words. But Kaguya does not back down from her words, even after her interlocutor asks her again. Kaguya says that when Daiki said that he would take Layla Ariel as his wife, it happened in her last moments. And that was a simple verbal promise that could allow the child to leave this life peacefully. Bringing up such a topic now and forcing Morishita to do so is a very bad thing. This explains everything Kaguya had told Layla before. However, Layla is now worried about something else. She is at a loss, because until this moment the girl had never thought that she could force the hero to do anything. Kajio tells her that Daiki is a kind person. So if Layla told him about the situation and pressured him using the promise he made as a shield, he wouldn't be heartless. However, that event was a simple act of compassion for a sad child who would have to pass away. And then Kaguya adds that Daiki probably never looked at Layla in a romantic way. Layla is still wavering in her doubts, but Kaguya asks her to get rid of her own delusions already. Then Abino asks his interlocutor a question, telling her that she has been in this world for 10 years, training, and asks Layla if she really has so little self-confidence. Abino asks her interlocutor why she doesn't stop clinging to that old promise and start fighting like Layla Sakaguchi. The girl froze, and then, a little sheepishly, Abino adds that, at least to her, Layla is a strong person who only wants to avoid hostility with people. But that's not a bad thing at all. She asked to stop. In response, Layla says that since she came into this world, there has never been an easy path for her. Layla tries to defend herself. She says that the life she had back then was difficult, and that is why she will never allow anyone to insult her. Kaguya reacts to this proud speech of her interlocutor with a laugh. Then Abino calmly notes that Layla seems to have stopped ranting. Layla is angered by this statement, and in a fit of anger she asks the interlocutor about what position she is in if she can give her advice. Abino answers Layla calmly again. She says that sometimes she also gives advice to people who need it. And when his interlocutor asks whether Kaguya understands that Layla wants to become Morishita's lover, Abino answers in return, asking Layla if she really looks like some kind of intolerant girl. Abino says that Morishita-kun is the only one who can choose his partner, and then adds that she herself has no say in the matter. Layla, a little embarrassed, asks her interlocutor a question. If hypothetically the main character had chosen another girl, would Abino have honorably yielded to her rival? Kaguya proudly replies that absolutely not. It is pointless to even answer this hypothetical question, since she claims that, after all, Morishita is madly in love with her. Layla realizes that she is truly jealous of Kaguya Abino, but Layla's interlocutor still decides to answer her hypothetical question. Kaguya tells her that even if there was a 1 in 10,000 chance, no, 1 in a trillion chance, then if that happened, she would simply refuse. And then when she leaves, Abino will damn well take Morishita-kun's life. These words of hers scare Layla to death, and she thinks that Kaguya is really capable of such an act. After a while, Layla climbs the steps and reflects that although it is a little annoying in the end, she always gets help. Opening the door to the room, Layla continues her reasoning and thinks that of all people, it was Abino Kaguya who did this, although her interests are also devilish. Layla is surprised to find Morishita-kun in the room. He says calmly that she has finally arrived. Morishita-kun points to Layla's school bag, asking if it's hers, and then adds that she couldn't leave it behind, so he picked it up for Layla. Layla is surprised and confused. She asks him how long he waited for her. Really all these few hours while she was not here. Morishita tells his interlocutor that last time, she asked him if she remembered the girl he saved. The protagonist tells her that the truth is that he clearly remembers that moment. These words of Daika make Layla's heart skip a beat. Morishita-kun continues. He says that he probably can't say whether he saved that girl. Since that girl died in the end, Daiki has a hard time saying those words, and Layla listens to everything the main character tells her, fascinated. Daiki tells Layla that he was hasty earlier and told her that she didn't know, but it's not something he can just talk about lightly. Layla's heart starts beating faster and she wants to say something to the hero. But at that moment, he remembers his recent dialogue with Abino and forces himself not to bring up the topic. Layla tells the protagonist that she understands, so even the protagonist can consider everything hopeless. Daiki agrees with Layla's words. He tells her that in that situation, everything did not go as expected. There were countless people he could not save. Layla asks her interlocutor if he thinks that the girl was just another victim of those brutal events. At that very moment, Morishita-kun quickly turns to Layla and tells her that there is no way, since that girl sacrificed her own life to save him instead. These words of Morishita-kun surprise Layla in a good way. After the main character adds to his words that the girl will remain special to him forever, Layla is very touched by his words. Layla tells Morishita-kun that she understands him and that what he says is very correct. Daiki asks his interlocutor in surprise why she would suddenly agree with him. The protagonist wonders if he even talked to his senpai about this before. He wishes that Layla hadn't openly revealed this extremely secret information. Morishita-kun turns to Layla and tells her that it was a surprise nonetheless. Layla reacts to his words with a questioning expression. He tells his interlocutor that the girl had blonde hair and wings too. These words make Layla wonder if Daiki has paid attention to her. But at this point, Daiki ruins the atmosphere by laughingly saying that this is the only similarity between them. He says that the girl was obedient and charming in that way. These words shock Layla, so much so that she tries to refute Morishita's words but stops in time, although this surprises Daiki. Layla reflects that what happened was not entirely because Kaguya told her not to do it, but because Layla herself does not want the hero to end up like Ariel, but like herself. Layla turns around sheepishly, taking her briefcase, and then tells the protagonist that she is grateful for the bag he brought her. She says that she spent quite a lot of time, so the girl hopes that they are not making any more noise. After these words, Layla, even more embarrassed, turns to Morishita-kun and hands him a bag of cookies, telling him to take them. The protagonist, realizing that he is being given cookies, asks Layla if she really made them herself. Layla answers positively, then adds that she made them as a thank you. Morishita accepts the treat from the heroine's hands and tells her that if that's the case, then she shouldn't mind if he does it. And with that, Daiki unties the bag of cookies and tries one. And a slightly surprised Layla asks him how he likes them and whether the cookies taste good. To which Morishita-kun, with a bright smile on his face, tells Layla that the cookies taste great. Because of his smile, Layla remembers the hero and is a little embarrassed about it. Layla says that she is glad to hear his praise. Then she boldly states that she did not make the cookies because she wanted him to like them. She says that it is just a token of gratitude and asks Morishita-kun not to misunderstand her. At that moment, Daiki chokes on his cookie, which causes Layla to ask a strange question. He replies that it's nothing like that, it just seems like Layla actually feels like a heroine of a light novel. To which she counters that if he says that, then he's like a hero of a medieval RPG. Layla smiles and thinks that right now, she wants to meet the hero face to face just as Layla, not as Ariel. She asks the protagonist if he wants a bento for lunch tomorrow. He replies negatively, then adds that he was just about to buy a bun at the convenience store. After Morishita's answer, Layla asks him if he would like to have lunch with her at the cafeteria then. He tells her of course, but then adds that she always follows him around to get him to buy her a bun. To which his interlocutor proudly tells Daiki that she doesn't actually force him to buy them for her. She says that he just needs to do it himself. Layla adds that in any case, this is her final binding decision, and the girl tells Daiki to stop wasting time and just have lunch with her. Daiki tells his interlocutor that this is the case. He asks her why she always acts so pompous. After all, that is not how you invite someone to dinner. To which Layla tells Morishita-kun that after all, one person told her to continue living, doing whatever her heart desires. Daiki doesn't understand what they're talking about, and Layla tells him that it's already evening. So the girl, demonstratively turning away from Morishita-kun, tells him that she's heading home. But Layla remains standing. Daiki is surprised by her actions and asks his interlocutor if she wasn't heading home. Layla hums something under her breath in embarrassment, then holds out her hand for Morishita-kun to take. Dake looks at this gesture, and then the guy says that it is impossible, asks Layla if she asks him to hold hands, and then quietly adds under his breath that this is not the case with everyone. After some thought, Morishita says that he doesn't seem to have a choice, so he takes Layla's outstretched hand in his own. A moment later, Daiki tells Layla that she is squeezing his hand too hard. But this didn't bother the girl at all. She smiled and told Daika that it would be better this way. Layla thinks that this is just what she needs. She holds his hand so tightly that she won't let him leave her. Then Layla repeats in her head with even more certainty she will not let Daika leave her again. At this very moment, at some airport, someone asks what the hell this is. It was an airport employee, and he was looking at the suitcase at customs and asking if there was a loaded weapon in there. Other employees question the owner of the suitcase. They ask her about some special expedition and then offer her sincere apologies. The girl sighs in disappointment and says that she is wasting her time here and then takes off her glasses from her face. And then this same girl with a scar on her face says that this country is their next battlefield. City. Morishita sits at home. He tells himself with a sigh that he is broken. Now Dake completely forgets everything after not doing research for 3 years. He wonders if there is still any need for him to study. After all, as long as he has superpowers, only the sky is his limit. Now he understands that, to be precise, he doesn't have anything significant like a dream or life goals. Dyke just wants to experience everyday pleasures normally. And in that case, he thinks that he would still like to go to university and go to parties. And that means that Daiki still has no choice but to study normally. Daiki stretches in his chair and then decides to look out the window. He notices a girl changing clothes in the house next door. Morishita thinks about how he was sure the house across the street was empty, and then wonders who could have moved in there. And when the girl who is changing turns around, Daiki is surprised to see Layla standing in the window, and he begins to wonder why he sees her there. Layla, terribly embarrassed, closes herself off and starts accusing Daiki of spying on her and calling him a bad person. But the protagonist tells her that he saw the girl by accident when he simply opened the curtains. And besides, he tells Layla that it should be her fault for changing clothes with the window open. But Layla is not reassured by her interlocutor's words. So she, with words about Daiki not wasting air in vain, flies into his window in only her underwear and kicks him in the face. Daiki is shocked by the heroine's actions, but the girl doesn't care about his reaction now. She just hits the main character with all her might, telling him that even if it is him, such a thing is unacceptable. Morishita asks the heroine to stop, or at least stop sitting on it like that. And only now does Layla realize what she has done. The girl's already embarrassed face becomes even redder, and she starts screaming and calling Morishita names. He asks her to stop doing it. Layla sits on Daiki's bed wearing his sweater, and he starts asking the heroine, telling Layla why she started changing clothes in the neighboring house. To which the girl calmly answers that it is obvious, because it is her house. Daiki is very surprised by these words of the heroine, to which the girl replies that in the end, she simply cannot live in a hotel forever. She says that, you see, from now on she has to make a lot of preparations. At this moment, Layla's speech is interrupted by a call from Daiki's phone. The protagonist, a little scared, tells the heroine that it is Abino senpai, and then adds that it is so late, wondering why the girl is calling him at such an hour. At this point, Layla tells her interlocutor that Abino Kaguya seems to have really tricked him, to which Daiki calls Layla stupid, and then tells her that it's not what she thought. Daiki thinks intently that it has already been 10 minutes since he picked up the phone. He thinks that Abino is already on his way to his house, and Abino Kaguya is indeed running towards Daiki's house as fast as she can. Morishita says that they can't get away with this situation, so he insists that Layla hurry up and go back to her own house. Layla asks what's going on. Daiki says that if Abino saw Layla in his room like this, they would get into trouble. Right from the pole next to the house, an enraged Kaguya Abino looks out the window. Her appearance terrifies both Daiki and Layla. Taking out a small knife from its sheath, Kaguya, still sitting on the pole, menacingly greets Morishita-kun and Layla Sakaguchi. She menacingly asks the couple in the window about how they seem to have become quite close without her, Abino knowing about it. The next day, Morishita comes to class. He thinks out loud about how yesterday was really terrible. He managed to survive since he was with Layla, but he thinks that Kaguya definitely came with a thirst for blood. He thinks that the two looked like wild animals while they were fighting. And yet, the protagonist became curious about how Layla managed to calm down her senpai after that. He sends a message on his phone, which says that it was his mistake and that he regrets what he did. Morishita-kun enters the classroom and sees the boys gathered in a crowd, discussing something. He is surprised by this, so he approaches a group of kids and asks them what happened. They greet him briefly and then share rumors that their class teacher has suddenly changed. And when Daiki asks how this happened, he is told that who knows, and it was obviously a sudden decision. But then the boys express a wish that their teacher would be a young woman. After some time, quite abruptly, a young woman does indeed enter the classroom. She begins to write her name on the board, with the words that from today on she will be their class teacher. The girl who was at the airport with a gun earlier introduces herself to the kids in the class as Tanaka Hanako. She then tells the kids in the class that she wants to get along with them, calling them brats. The kids in the class are extremely shocked by the teacher's behavior. The guys start discussing the situation, saying that her name is Tanaka but she has blonde hair. And then someone suggests that she is cosplaying to fit in with the class. And some guy comments on how she is insanely hot, so everything is fine, and after these words adds welcome. Afterwards, the teacher is asked where she was born. She repeats the question and then says that her home is in Aomori. The boys think that this is definitely a lie. The protagonist muses that he has a bad feeling about the new teacher. He thinks that Tanaka must be on the same spectrum as Senpai and Layla. At that very moment, the homeroom teacher stops in front of the protagonist's seat. She tells Morishita-kun that she would like to have a few words with him, so she asks him to come to the briefing room after class. After his address, the teacher notices Layla out of the corner of his eye. The girl is a little surprised and interested. At that very moment, the guys pounce on Daiki with questions about why it's always him. After school, the protagonist actually comes to the briefing room. He tells Tanaka that she wanted to talk to him. When Tanaka stands before Morishita, he realizes that she is huge in every sense. She says that she can't believe it and adds, telling him that he has a weak aura. The new teacher wonders if the nine-tailed great familiar was willing to be defeated by a student. Morishita thinks that since the teacher knows about the nine tails, then in the end it means that she is a relative of Layla. But the hero is not completely sure about this. He tells the new homeroom teacher that he's sure she felt it, but he's just a normal person. The teacher says that with the defeat of the Nine Tails, their operation has also changed greatly. And one of the goals is the need to eliminate any variables of uncertainty. And then he turns around with a menacing face. She continues to talk about independent superhumans and the like in particular. Daiki is wary, his danger sensor skill is activated. And right after that, Tanaka Hanako makes a sharp lunge, trying to attack Morishita-kun, but he easily dodges all of her attacks. Daiki thinks about how Sensei's movements are completely different from those in the other world. At the same time, Tanaka continues to make attacks towards the main character, but Daiki easily dodges. The new homeroom teacher begins to get angry about the situation, and she calls Morishita-kun a brat. The teacher then takes off his sweatshirt and says that to him, dodging those punches makes it look like he really is an expert in Asian martial arts. Tanaka then apologizes for taking Daiki so lightly, thinking he was just a high school student. The protagonist thanks her for her politeness, and then he wonders in his head whether she was not aware that he was a hero. And then he thinks that the new class teacher does not seem like a person who listens to reason. At the same moment, Tanaka tells Morishita that from now on she will take him seriously. With these words, she picks up a mop and begins to attack the main character Daiki with it. The hero is surprised, but nevertheless dodges each of Hanako's attacks. The teacher thinks out loud that this is impossible, because the only one she knows who could maintain such speed is Linford. Daiki repeats Linford's name, and Tanaka responds by saying that all threats must be eliminated before that man arrives in the country. Daiki ponders that he has no choice but to talk to Hanako. The protagonist then ponders what he will do after he suppresses the new homeroom teacher. At the same time, on some stage that looked like the Colosseum, a man in a suit speaks, greeting the esteemed ladies and gentlemen who enjoy unpunished, brutal, lethal fights. The man in a suit tells the crowd that they will hold today's meeting in this underground arena. The audience is excited and thrilled about the upcoming events. The man in the suit comments that right now their master, a living legend who possesses all the secrets of the East, is coming onto the stage. He introduces this muscular man as the depraved monk Ryusai. The man who came out on stage turns out to be an old man, and while he is showing off his muscles to the audience, the commentator continues. He says that the man who came out on stage defeated the divine beast Kirin with the help of secret rituals and the fighting techniques of a sage. And this fighter is known as the elusive East. The commentator in the suit says that the one who will meet the elusive East face to face will be an assassin from the Vatican. Holy Knight returned from hell, Linford. After these words, a guy with blonde hair and a cloak goes up onto the stage of the underground arena. Questioning voices are heard from the stands, all about who the man who came out on stage is. Hearing the cheers coming from the stands, the commentator says that it is not unusual for the spectators not to know who this man is. After all, he was a complete nonentity just 6 months ago. An ordinary holy knight. However, he suddenly stood up quickly. Now the place of one of the 6 heavenly saints who are the most powerful beings in the Vatican was vacant, and he became his successor. These words make the fighter called the elusive East laugh. The commentator says that the reason he, Linford, as a respected member of the Vatican, is accepting the challenge to a mortal combat is because he personally wants to prove his strong character. The audience shrugs their shoulders, discussing the situation. There are whispers from the stands that even if they were suddenly told that this man is one of these so-called 6 heavenly saints, he is a complete mystery. The commentator speaks frankly. In his opinion, the odds are 120 to 1 in Linford's favor. So far, Ryusai has had 7 accusations brought against him by the Vatican, and all of them led to Ryusai's reign. And then he asks the audience a question, asking them if this battle will be another one-sided massacre for him. At the same time, Ryusai crunches his neck. And then he turns to Linford with a laugh, asking him if he is absolutely sure. To which the man in the cloak asks the question again, and then asks Ryusai a counter-question, addressing him as an old man, saying what he means. The muscular old man angrily tells Linford that he is a decent monk who thirsts for blood and carnage, so he tells his rival not to hope to return alive now. Linford calmly responds to his interlocutor, saying that he may be right, but that will only be possible if he loses. These words make old man Ryusai laugh, and he tells Linford that he likes him. An enraged Ryusai says that he enjoys watching brats like him, who don't know their damn place, fall to pieces with his martial sage moves. Linford laughs and tells his opponent that pushing himself too hard is bad for his aging body. Ryusai tells Linford to remain silent, as he must understand what this is. The spell is one of his secret sage combat techniques. The old man continues to say that from their people's perspective, it is a spell of powerful explosion, and the only way for Linford to go against him is to stop this spell before it starts. And then the old man adds with a laugh that the only way to stop it is to defeat him. Linford also laughingly tells his companion that this is just a demonstration for the Vatican. Therefore, he will only have to take his life after Ryusai releases his full power. So Linford promises the old man that he will not touch him until his technique is complete. An enraged Ryusai asks his opponent if he is trying to mock him, to which Linford, pressing his hand to his chest, replies that he has his sincere respect for Ryusai. Linford expresses his respect for his tenacity and the time it took him to get to this point. Linford tells Ryusai that he hasn't even leveled up yet. He says that Ryusai has worked hard to get to this point. Linford continues his speech. He says that he has some free time until Ryusai's technique is fully developed, so he asks the old man's permission to share a story with him. Ryusai activates his aura and at the same time asks Linford about the story. And Ryusai wonders if this brat really plans to wait for him to finish his technique. Linford starts to tell that long ago, or rather, only half a year ago, he was a very ordinary holy knight. Half a year ago, they, the Holy Knights, went on a mission to a cave in Antarctica, known as the Fall into the Abyss. Linford says that it was there that he had to encounter a ghost, and he accidentally fell off a cliff. And a month ago, Linford finally managed to return, while he was in another world. The old man asks him why Linford then talks about some month, since he was absent for half a year. The guy grins. Then Ryusai confidently tells Linford that his opponent's words about another world are nonsense. Linford smirks and tells his opponent that his martial sage techniques would lead to a 3rd level of martial skills, and that it is absurd to think that he has already mastered his art at that level. The old man angrily asks his rival if he is done talking nonsense, and then says that he is done with his introduction before he uses his flesh and blood to make his final flower bloom. Linford tells Ryusai that it's incredible that for an old man to maintain his form with his flames, he still has to do this. Ryusai uses the sage's secret combat technique, Fire Dragon, and a large mythical beast made of flames appears above his head. The stands excitedly say that they are hot. At that moment, the old man begins to say that his rival will fly to pieces from his fire, and that his fire dragon will burn him to ashes. And Ryusai directs his attack towards Linford, who silently watches what is happening around him. Ryusai says that his techniques are one with heaven and earth, and that, so to speak, it is this world itself, and nothing can resist the logic of this world. Linford scoffs at the whole thing. The old man tells him that this is vanity, and then, directing a powerful stream of flame directly at the opponent, he tells him to repent in the other world. A giant fire dragon flies straight at Linford. At the same time, the old man smirks, thinking that Linford is too confident in his resistance to magic, And that means it's his mistake, because, in the old man's opinion, he knows nothing about this huge world. Ryusai's dragon flame is, so to speak, a plasma jet. It is simply unthinkable that Linford would have magical resistance strong enough to withstand several million degrees. To these words, Linford says that of course it is impossible to resist something like this, with only magical resistance. And after these words, Linford activates the magic reflection skill. And to Ryusai's incredible surprise, it completely reflects his plasma stream, directing it towards the most elusive of the East. Ryusai is scared. At this point, Linford says that the magic resistance that is naturally granted to holy knights was tempered by him while on the other side. And as a result, Linford was able to further increase his skill level. He surpassed the maximum level of his skill, which was initially impossible. The old man tells him that this is absurd, because this kind of thing defies logic. And after these words, Ryusai is overtaken by his own attack. The spectators in the stands are amazed by the outcome of the battle. The announcer is surprised to see Master Ryus instantly turn into a crisp. He says that this is a completely shocking result from the Holy Knight Linford. The current situation makes the winner laugh out loud. And with a crazy face, he says that this power was given to him by the gods, and therefore now even the Vatican must recognize his authority. Ryusai, on the verge of death, speaks, asking the audience to help him, but this only frightens them more. And at that moment, Linford finally takes the old man's life. Saying that impressions are important when it comes to demonstrating, he politely asks Ryusai not to stay alive. Linford shows disrespect to the deceased by stamping on him with his foot, and says that of course there is no one in the world who could resist the laws of the gods and the logic of this world. However, the winner with a crazy face declares that now that he has some transcendental power, he could even defeat God himself. And with that, Linford begins to laugh. Linford considers whether he should follow the orders given to him by the Vatican and cause a stir in the Far East. He understands that everything must be from there. And at these words, the image of Hanako appears in his mind. At the same time, a pumped-up girl with a scar on her eye stands in front of the main character. He thinks intently that these attacks are strengthened by several significantly softened spells, and if they were serious about expelling him, the school would be in great danger. The hero also thinks that he has no choice but to suppress her in an instant. But at the same moment, the girl opposite activates two skills: improving physique and accelerating perception. At that moment, a girl with cute bows enters the room, forcibly throwing the door open. Layla says that she thought something like this could happen, and then asks, turning to the girl with a scar on her face, whether she didn't tell her that she would only talk to the hero. Serafina, surprised by Layla's appearance. A pumped-up girl with a serious face answers the newcomer that, in the end, she could never ignore the potential risk. These words anger Layla, so she discontentedly addresses Serafina by name. And then he asks the girl with the scar if she is trying to tell her now that she is not obeying her own order. These words and Layla's reaction cause a sense of danger in the hero. But at that moment, Serafina frowned, and then, to Morishita-kun's surprise, she threw her stick on the floor and throws herself on Layla's neck with apologies. And then she asks her mistress if she could have thought that Serafina would ever be able to resist the order of her princess. Layla asks not to cling to her, but she does not hear, as she only admires the aroma of her mistress. This whole scene shocks the hero. Serafina continues to speak happily, not letting go of her mistress, who clearly does not like it. She says that these last few months she has been very worried about her princess, who, according to Serafina, lived in a country of savages, who also could not sleep at night. Morishita-kun asks Layla if she really made Serafina call her a princess, adding that it's scary. Layla replies in the negative and sheepishly says that Serafina started calling her that on her own. Serafina apologizes and says that it was impolite of her to lose her temper. She then tells the hero that she is Lala's personal holy knight, the captain of the guards, Serafina. And then Serafina adds with a laugh that if Morishita wants to address her as a teacher, then he should not be shy about doing so. After all, she finally learned the local language. Layla, arms crossed, asks her subordinate where the rest of the guards are now. Layla then reports to her that they are currently busy threatening the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology. At this point, the hero seems to understand who they are talking about. Serafina then turns to Morishita-kun and sternly tells him that she was putting the princess's safety at school first. But that doesn't mean her suspicions have gone away. At this point, Layla stands up for Morishita-kun. She tells her subordinate that she will personally verify his identity and character, and that at the very least, there is no reason to make an enemy out of him. These words shock and surprise Serafina, and she tells Layla in amazement that this cannot be. Serafina pounces on Morishita, asking the surprised hero how he could have entered into a man-woman relationship with such a modest woman. And these words make Layla exclaim that it is not so. The protagonist then asks Serafina in surprise why she adores Layla so much despite her being her boss. Serafina is angered that she received this remark from such a selfish guy and then thinks hard about Morishita's question. After which Serafina says that she believes that her affection is probably hard to understand for someone who doesn't know the circumstances. And then she asks Morishita if he wants to hear a little story. She asks if the listeners are aware that they belong to an underground organization called the Vatican, to which they respond that they are more or less. The Vatican is an organization that is divided into different ranks, such as the Holy Knights, Dominions, Faction Elders, and the 6 Heavenly Saints. The Holy Knights are at the bottom and the 6 Heavenly Saints are at the top. Layla is in the Dominions, in a special funeral department to combat violence. Serafina continues that they, the Holy Knights, are the lower classes of society, disposable tools that can be replaced endlessly. She says the Vatican is not the only power existing in the shadows. There is the Witchcraft Society of America, the Hermit Association of China. All sorts of powers compete ruthlessly every day. Serafina then asks Morishita-kun if he has heard of the underground arenas in Hong Kong, to which the protagonist replies in the negative, and then asks Serafina who she is talking about. She says that these are places where people with perverted interests gather. The objects on which they bet are people, animals, monsters. Under the dark looks of those listening, Serafina continues. She says that this is an elegant scheme for finding pleasure, a battlefield for everything. And what's more, such places to the underground forces, according to Serafina, will become a suitable place not only for business, but for them to be able to demonstrate their power. Morishita ponders, asking if this is a show of force, to which he receives the answer that it is. After all, no matter how many ghosts you fight, as long as they can't appear in public, it won't bring them any publicity. However, in the end, it is just a show. And no organization would throw their top-notch fighters into such a fight, because, according to Seraphine, the loss would be immeasurable if they lost one of their precious superhumans. However, the Hermit Association is a different matter. They station their top-notch warriors there to boast of their invincibility. Serafina says that they want to demonstrate their power in Hong Kong, which is completely under their control. However, the Vatican is clearly bored. Finishing her story, Serafina says that in this way, sometimes, the Vatican throws its newbies into the Association of Hermits. Morishita-kun says that the hermits, whoever they are strong opponents. To which the new homeroom teacher replies that even if they lose, there is no loss. For them, if by some super rare chance they were to defeat them, it would be a great success for their organization. Serafina says that these types of games also appeal to their viewers, as they result in big bets and huge profits for the arena, which makes everyone happy. Serafina, smiling, says that besides them, the Holy Knights, who fight for real, some terrible chimeric creature lets out a roar. Serafina once had to fight the monster Manticore and got a scar on her face. It was just a performance, a warm-up for the main event, and their only intention was death. Their organization used the humble Holy Knights as tools to gain the right to challenge the hermits. At the time, Manticore was too much of a foe for Serafina to handle. All the audience could do was watch as she was destroyed right in front of them. However, at that moment, a miracle fell from the heavens right in front of Serafina. It was Layla who stood in the monster's way. She said it was so terrible to be forced to fight and then lose your life. And spreading her wings, the little girl said that this was unforgivable and that she would put an end to it. Cries are heard from the stands about whether this is the girl who was hailed as a miracle. At the same time, the organizers understand that they will receive many complaints from the Vatican if the miracle loses its life here. Therefore, the arena chooses to stop the fight, and thus they are given back the life they were supposed to lose. And already at the present moment, Serafina says that the princess has really been neat and nice for a long time, and she is kind at heart. Yes, she is an angel in the flesh. Layla reacts to this praise with a little embarrassment. Morishita tries to refute Serafina's flattering statements. He says that Layla talked to her classmates like slaves today, which was the very personification of an arrogant person. At these words, Serafina becomes aggressive and asks the hero if he, the son of a dog, is trying to mock the princess. Layla tells Serafina that she actually already asked her to stop calling her a princess, to which she is answered with disagreement, saying that a princess is a princess for the guardians. Layla asks Serafina to stop lying to her. The protagonist watches what is happening with an irritated and tired look. After a short while, Morishita tells Serafina that he has realized what kind of relationship he has with Layla. He then asks why Serafina decided to pretend to be a teacher at this school. Serafina replies that she has said this before, but their mission changed after the destruction of the Nine Tails. But Layla doesn't let the new teacher finish. She makes a remark about her talking too much. and Serafina immediately shuts up, saying how could she be so persistent. And when Daiki asks Layla what they are talking about, the girl tells him that he has nothing to do with it. Serafina starts laughing and then says that she's done with the schoolchildren for today. Daiki asks her, a little irritated, if she's really going to continue acting like a teacher. Sometime later, Abino, Morishita and Layla are walking down the street. Abino Kaguya is terribly annoyed. She asks Daiki why Layla is walking them home, to which the girl shamelessly answers her that it is inevitable because she is his closest neighbor after all. An enraged Abino asks Layla why the hell she moved in with Morishita-kun in the first place. Layla says that the cheap house in the neighboring area just happened to be next to his house, but in her mind, she thinks that this is a lie. Abino seriously considers moving from the penthouse here. She remembers that she is supposed to buy the land nearby. Morishita says that Kaguya's words are becoming dangerous. At this moment, Abino has a revelation and exclaims to the hero that how could she not notice such a simple thing. She says that if Morishita-kun moved into her house, the problem would be solved, and then playfully declares that they will still start living together someday. Layla says that this can't be, and Kaguya mockingly asks her why she is against it. Morishita says that his father is currently away from home due to his transfer to another job, so he can't leave his mother. To which Abino shamelessly suggests that why not in that case, their families become one already. At that moment, Kaguya receives a message on her phone. She realizes that it is from the head of the family, and then tells Morishita-kun that they will end it here for now and that she will call him later. And Layla thinks that if Daiki and Abino lived together, he would begin to distance himself from her, Layla, more and more. Morishita notices the noise of the wheels towards them and the hero manages to carry Layla and save her. This truck crashes into the wall. The situation raises a lot of questions for the heroes. Serafina gets out of the truck. She apologizes to the princess for keeping her waiting. Layla reacts with a little surprise, saying that it was Sira and her gang of losers. This reaction greatly shocks the hero, and he reminds Layla that she actually just almost got hit. But now Daiki remembers the words about losers, and just then Serafina commands someone in the truck, saying, "Come on, get this into the house." 4 more guys climb out of the cargo hold. They stood behind. All the guards were assembled. Everyone says hello and introduces themselves as Arikana, Ulces, Procyon, and Amber. Afterwards, Seraphin begins to command this small group, and together they begin to get things. Daiki, noticing the pile of things, says that he can't believe there are so many of them. At that point, Serafina says that of course, since they are all moving here together to protect the princess from all adversity. Morishita-kun's mother comes out of his house. She asks Daiki what is going on here because she heard a very loud noise. She is surprised to see a truck and a large number of people. Serafina, seeing Morishita-kun's mother, approaches her, introduces herself as Tanaka, and says that she has recently become Daika's homeroom teacher, and that from this day on they will be neighbors, and hopes that they will get along. Daika's mother thinks that since Layla and Serafina have the same hair color, it means that they are related. And then he thinks about marriage and grandchildren, since Layla's family is moving to the neighboring house. Morishita says it's too early, and also expresses his expectations that his mother isn't making this up. And then she offers people standing on the street, as a sign of decency, to try some soba. Sometime later, Morishita met with Abino. He asks her if she is angry anymore, to which she replies that she is not angry. Morishita says that it's just that a classmate moved into the house next door, but he still doesn't understand why Senpai is angry about it. Abino says that of course she'll be angry, to which Daiki tells her that she feels like she's going to explode. Kaguya recalls that this Tanaka and the Guardians are simply Layla's bodyguards. Daiki tells her that something like that was said. Abino says that then perhaps that is true. And then Kaguya suddenly tells Morishita that she wants to stop their countercalls. Daiki asks her what happened. Abino says it's because of the head of the family, adding that they are so serious and irritated there now, she calls it a problem. She says that her father was protecting the national treasures to begin with, and she stole some and sold them. She thought they wouldn't notice, but it seems she was wrong. So now she was forced to do the annoying job her father used to do, sealing rifts when it was more like resealing them. Daiki tells his interlocutor that he hopes there is nothing as dangerous as the 9-tailed fox this time, to which Abino assures him that it is just a seal update, nothing more. She says that it is something like a caretaker at a festival. Kaguya says it will only take a couple of evenings. Starting today, she needs to renew the seals at 3 temples. She will just need to stand in front of the arch, that's all. The heroine thinks it's a piece of cake. The hero asks his senpai what will happen if she fails to do it. Layla says that then there will be an earthquake measuring 7 on the Shindo scale, and the entire surrounding area will be destroyed. In addition, the evil spirits of the rivers and mountains will burst out of the earth to conquer the entire world. Hell will descend upon the earth. and Morishita, frightened, asks her interlocutor if this is not bad. Abino Kaguya says that this seal has not been broken for 7 centuries, and it will not be just her. The head of the family will assign a couple of exorcists, so everything is fine. In the girl's opinion, it will look like she is just a beautiful dressed-up temple servant. Daiki tells his interlocutor that it is good if this is true. Morishita seriously tells the girl that there have already been cases where she kept silent about important things, so the protagonist does not want this to happen again. But the hero suddenly stops speaking as his senpai sweetly hugs him from behind. While hugging him, she says it's very sweet that he cares about her so much, and then asks him if he is madly in love with her. Morishita-kun shyly tells his senpai that she has never pressed herself against him like that before. At this point, the hero thinks that he has already gotten used to this and no longer attaches importance to the situation. But now Morishita Daiki remembers that they are more than friends. The hero is embarrassed, and Abino, also embarrassed, moves away from him with the words that her pleasantries for today are over. She tells Daiki that she received a piece of his power after that incident, so if she gets into trouble, she will definitely call him. The hero is happy about this and says that if something happens, she should call him right away. They hold hands and say that they will write to each other soon. And then in a calm, romantic atmosphere, they go down together, still holding hands. Meanwhile, something happened in some temple in some prefecture. Abino, dressed in beautiful traditional clothing, stands in front of the temple entrance. She thinks that she feels the spiritual energy coming from the prayers. It seems that the head of the family sent the best of the best. The heroine thinks that she really screwed up big time, but despite this, the job she is currently doing has a low hourly pay, and it's all pretty weird. At that very moment, the heroine begins to feel some kind of spiritual energy, and she thinks that it is most likely a spirit, although it looks like something else. She takes a fighting stance but can't do anything. Someone attacks her very quickly, but she manages to dodge thanks to the blade. She jumped back and recognized the blow. Abino thinks that if it weren't for her blade, she could have lost her arm. She hears the sound of a bike's engine and recognizes someone, but still doesn't believe what's happening. The girl on the bike says that it was not in vain that she placed her hopes on this country, because who would have thought that her attack could be dodged not once, but twice in just one day? And she lunges again towards the surprised Abino. But the girl manages to dodge the attack again. Abino says she understands, then adds with a smile that a holy knight riding an iron horse is very modern. At the same moment, the girl sitting on the bike tells Abino that since she understands this, it will greatly speed up the whole thing. The girl takes off her helmet and openly says that her name is Serafina and she is a holy knight of the Vatican. She was ordered not to touch Abino. Kaguya quickly thinks at this point that she knew that Serafina was holding a replica of the sacred weapon. She also thinks about the Vatican and realizes that she has been too relaxed lately. Abino reasons that, if we think about her relationship with Layla and with the Vatican in general, they at least have no reason for enmity, or maybe that's how it seemed to her. Knowing that the Vatican has a policy of completely destroying spirits, Abino reflects that it is not surprising that they decided to intervene in this matter. Kaguya asks Serafina in a hunted manner if Layla knows what is happening now, to which the Holy Knight answers his interlocutor that this order comes from people, a level higher than the dominions, and that, to put it simply, this decision was made by the Vatican itself. In order to strengthen its position in this country, they were ordered to sow chaos here. Afterwards, Serafina promises Abino that if she retreats, she will be left alive. Although, according to Serafina, it will still hurt. Kaguya thinks that if she leaves now, the entire city will be destroyed. And remembering the time with Daiki, she understands that she cannot allow this. At the same moment, Abino takes a fighting stance and tells his opponent that now is the time to demonstrate the Abino family's exorcism techniques. Serafina is extremely interested in what is happening. And after these words, the Holy Knight rears up his iron horse, and then begins to actively attack Abino Kaguya, who in turn prepares to use the exorcism techniques of her Abino family. Abino Kaguya and Holy Knight Seraphine exchange a series of complex attacks. The girl wriggles. They continue to fight. Kaguya boldly tells her rival that she expected something like this, and that it is logical that she is called the keeper of sacred relics. At the same time, Serafina speaks with difficulty, admiring the style of the Abino school, that she did not expect Kaguya to reach such heights. The girls again exchange a series of complex attacks. At this point, Serafina wonders how it happened that their taijutsu is on the same level. And then Serafina thinks that considering the difference in their weapon skills, Kaguya is much stronger than her. She is disappointed with her conclusion. Serafina tries to attack Abino, but she jumps up and the Holy Knight misses, then calls his opponent names. Serafina, brandishing her weapon, asks Abino why she still hasn't used the talismans. Kaguya thinks that Serafina is right, because if she had used the talismans now, then victory would have already been in her pocket. Abino would have used them long ago and burned everything around to the ground. However, she realizes that if she did that, she would become a common murderer. And then, of course, she would no longer be able to maintain the same relationship with Morishita. She gave up fighting for her own survival. Now she's willing to sacrifice everything to protect everything she holds dear, everything she wants to fight for. Abino tells her rival that she is sure that Serafina also sensed their difference in strength. So she tells the girl opposite that if she retreats now and lays down her arms, she will not pursue her. To which Serafina replies that they are guardians and that she dared to look down on them. And then, swearing by God, Serafina says that it is impossible to defeat them. Something is approaching them, and Abino is confused, realizing that it is the enemy. She was wounded. They surround her, and Serafina says that they should have started with the fact that they are a team of 5 people, the so-called Cell of 5. Serafina turns to one of her allies and asks about the situation there, to which Arachne tells her that it looks like there were some superhumans in the Shinto shrines as well. She thinks about something. She suggests that maybe she should just spray the deadly gas there. These words greatly surprise Abino, and Serafina, laughing, says that now everything has changed. What a turn. Serafina tells Kaguya that it turns out that she is the only one left now. However, according to Abino, they both do not want to give up. Serafina absolutely agrees with this statement. At that very moment, Arachne, Ulsus, and Ember attack Abino Kaguya from different sides, who is sandwiched between them. She sighs heavily, trying to brush off the attacks of her opponents, and covering herself from them with her hands. After a few moments, Abino Kaguya begins to realize that the situation she is in is very difficult for her. She thinks that if this were a duel, the attacks coming at her would feel completely different.